Li Mei's Sword of Destiny. Chapter 760. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, the hearts of everyone trembled. The sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Jiang clan, was here, and the city lord manor had prepared a banquet to welcome them. But now this young man actually dared to threaten the city lord manor? Were they tired of living? Everyone here, including the experts from the Jiang clan, were seriously contemplating Qin Wentian. He wielded an immortal-ranked weapon and rode on an immortal shuttle. His eyes were deep and his aura was extraordinary. Those who were threatened, including Bu Yinyu and Xie Shi, didn't reply immediately. They were all observing Qin Wentian. There were simply too many capable people in the immortal realms. Even if your strength is much stronger than your opponent, you still have to see if your opponent has a powerful background or not. If not, a single mistake might result in death or even the destruction of your entire clan. This wasn't nonsense. For example, the city lord manor of the worry-free city dared to capture people in the city because they were powerful. But even so, they had to see who the target was. They wouldn't do anything to those with a powerful background. Qin Qing was a young lady of the Qin clan. She didn't have a powerful background, which was why they dared to capture her. In the immortal realms, there were some arrogant yet blind people who would bully the weak, resulting in their deaths. Such things were a common occurrence. This included the old ancestor of the Jiang clan, Jiang Chao. How powerful was he when he founded the Jiang clan? Even immortal emperors needed his help, but in the end, didn't Jiang Chao still die on the spot? Although he managed to kill his opponent before his death, saving the Jiang clan from the calamity of annihilation, from then on, the Jiang clan suffered continuous setbacks and fell into a disastrous decline. Zhao Yuyan, Xie Yu and Han Luo all stared at Qin Wentian as different thoughts appeared in their hearts. They were all speculating what sort of character was this person who seized the Sky Demon Oracle bone from the Amorsi's residence exactly? As for Qin Qing, her beautiful eyes were staring at Qin Wentian. Her eyes were slightly red as her delicate body trembled slightly. She called out in her heart, "Big brother Qin." Qin Qing naturally didn't expect her big brother Qin to be so powerful. In fact, he even dared to threaten the city lord manor. Bu Yinyu stared at Qin Wentian and asked, "Which force are you from? How dare you be so disrespectful?" After all, Bu Yinyu was a city lord of a region. Being threatened by a weakling, she naturally had the aura of a city lord. However, she didn't dare to directly act against Qin Wentian. Before she understood Qin Wentian's background, she still felt some trepidation. A second-level ascendant possessing two immortal-ranked weapons, this by itself already proved some things. If one said that Qin Wentian didn't have an immortal foundation expert behind his back, who would believe it? Qin Wentian glanced at Bu Yinyu. Then his gaze landed on Qin Qing. "Qin Qing, who captured you?" Qin Qing's gaze sharpened slightly as he said in a low voice, "Big brother Qin." "Who?" Qin Wentian asked again. Qin Qing's gaze swept through the crowd. After which, her eyes landed on an expert from the city lord manor. She pointed to that person and spoke, "It's him." Qin Wentian's eyes abruptly turned over, staring at the person who injured Qin Mu and brought Qin Qing away. Bang! Astral light erupted forth. In just an instant, a fearsome might erupted forth from Qin Wentian. With a thunderous boom, he directly rushed towards that person. Runic light towered up into the sky from Qin Wentian's palms, terrifying to the extreme. A fearsome gigantic palm imprint erupted forth, blotting out the skies as it instantly appeared before that person. That expert was at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon. At the instant Qin Wentian erupted forth, he instantly retreated. The speed of that gigantic palm imprint was simply too fast, containing a fearsome suppressive might. The Fiend God Heavenly Suppression Art, when cultivated to an extremely high level, could even kill immortals and devils. Fiend God Body Refinement Art, one's fleshly body was akin to that of an immortal or a devil. When both of them erupted together, how terrifying would the suppressive might be? A thunderous boom rang out. That person was caught off guard and was directly coughed out fresh blood. His countenance drastically changed, only to see a flying shuttle flying past him. With a piercing sound, fresh blood flowed out as his head was directly separated from his body. He died on the spot, killed by Qin Wentian. This sudden scene caused the eyes of everyone to gleam with sharpness. What an arrogant fellow, he actually dared to kill someone in public in such a setting. The city lord of the worry-free city, Bu Yanyu, and her husband Xie Shi, were both immortal foundation experts. They completely had the ability to stop Qin Wentian, but they didn't. It was as though they wanted to see clearly what sort of divine existence this young man was exactly. From Qin Wentian's body, they could see a terrifying attacking method that was definitely an immortal-ranked innate technique. The runic light circulating around his body caused his body to exude a sharp pressure. Most probably, it's an extremely tyrannical body refinement technique. His palms are also filled with runic light, seemingly indestructible. It's as though his body of flesh and blood has become incomparably mystical, exuding a fearsome divine might. He must have cultivated an extremely powerful cultivation art. Up until now, everything Qin Wentian displayed was extraordinary. Right now, Bu Yanyu was 90% sure that Qin Wentian came from a major power. Not only for Bu Yanyu, the others felt the same way as well. The experts of the Jiang clan from the sacred ground are here. There's actually someone who came to the City Lord Manor to cause trouble. City Lord Bu, you should at least say something. At this moment a voice rang out. The person who spoke was none other than the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor Sect, the Master of Zhao Yuyan. He naturally knew of Qin Wentian. When Qin Wentian appeared here, his heart trembled. Back then when he used his immortal sense to protect Zhao Yuyan against Qin Wentian, Bai Wuya directly used his immortal sense to enter his sea of consciousness, easily destroying him. How could he not understand that Qin Wentian might have an extremely terrifying background? At this moment, if the City Lord Manor acted against Qin Wentian, the entire manor would most probably be razed to the ground. The Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor Sect clearly didn't have any good intentions. Mother, back then it was precisely this man who participated in the Amorsi's residence and obtained the Sky Demon Oracle Bone. The immortal sense of the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor Sect appeared and he recognized this man. After that, a mysterious white-robed young man appeared and with a single word scram, that old fellow's immortal sense vanished. Although Xieyu's personality was evil, when he saw how domineering Qin Wentian was, how could he not know that Qin Wentian had sinister intentions? Bu Yanyu stared at Qin Wentian, feeling even more certain of her guess. Seems like the Supreme Elder of the Golden Armor Sect might know something. In that case, if this was the case, this mysterious young man in front of her might be from a supreme power from the outside world. A power that her City Lord Manor couldn't afford to offend. Sir, who are you exactly? Why did you come to my City Lord Manor to cause trouble? Bu Yanyu stared at Qin Wentian as she continued to speak. Qin Wentian still ignored her. He coldly glanced at her before shifting his gaze onto Jiang Kuang. I shouldn't have come here to disturb the Jiang clan. However, my younger sister was forcefully brought here by the City Lord Manor, and I can only come here to bring her back. Can the Jiang clan give me some face? The reason why Qin Wentian came so domineeringly was because he wanted to create a false impression that he had an extremely powerful background. In this immortal realms it was common for the weak to bully the weak. Only when others felt that you had a powerful background would they not dare to touch you. In addition, he had an immortal-ranked weapon and immortal arts on him. His attacks were extremely terrifying, easily creating a false impression. Naturally, he had no choice but to do this. If he wanted to save Qin Qing, he could only do this. There was no other way. Naturally, there's no problem. Jiang Kuang, who had been silent all this while, was observing Qin Wentian. Since Qin Wentian knew their identities, he still dared to be so impudent. He truly wanted to know what sort of character this person was. However, at the very least you have to tell me who you are first. If not, what qualifications do you have to ask me for Qin Qing? The three words "who are you" from Jiang Kuang's mouth wasn't simply a simple inquiry of Qin Wentian's name. What a joke. Could it be that a second-level ascendant could rely on his tyrannical combat prowess to bring Qin Qing away from him, Jiang Kuang, just by killing a single person? If that was the case, wouldn't the Jiang clan have no weight at all? No matter who Qin Wentian was, even if he had a powerful background, if he wanted to bring Qin Qing away, just based on what Qin Wentian had done, it was far from enough. The atmosphere fell into silence once more. With Jiang Kuang presiding over the situation, those from the City Lord Manor naturally wouldn't interfere. They originally hoped that this would be the case. In that case, their city lord manner would be able to completely separate themselves and not offend either side. Everything was supported by the Jiang clan. If this arrogant young man didn't have an even stronger background, not only would he have no way to bring Qin Qing away from the eyes of the Jiang clan, it would be a problem even if he himself could leave. Are you unwilling to release Qin Qing? Qin Wentian's countenance turned cold, yet he was silently contemplating in his heart. After all, this Jiang Kuang was someone from the Jiang clan. How could he allow him to bring Qin Qing away so easily? If the city lord manor felt some trepidation towards his domineering performance, the Jiang clan might not feel the same. After all, they could be considered a peak power in the entire Cloud Prefecture. It would be better if Qin Qing wasn't noticed. However, Qin Qing was coincidentally noticed by Jiang Kuang. That would have to depend on whether you have the qualifications to make me release her. A sharp light flashed in Jiang Kuang's eyes. He stared at Qin Wentian. He had just entered the banquet in the city lord manor, and there was already someone who came to cause trouble. He really wanted to see how much confidence Qin Wentian had exactly. Chapter 761. Qin Wentian could clearly see the provocation in Jiang Kuang's eyes. To Jiang Kuang, how could he release Qin Wentian so easily? My younger sister was brought here by someone from the city lord manor. She has nothing to do with the Jiang clan. If you are willing to release her, I Qin will remember this favor. Qin Wentian stared at Jiang Kuang as he spoke again. However, Jiang Kuang only laughed and shook his head, not releasing. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with coldness, becoming incomparably sharp. A powerful aura gushed forth from him as he stepped forward and coldly spoke. Since you are asking me if I have the qualifications, I will grant you your wish. A terrifying battle intent gushed forth from him, gushing towards Jiang Kuang. Jiang Kuang's cultivation base was at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon, 3 levels higher compared to Qin Wentian. Not only that, as a young master of the Jiang clan, there was no doubt that Jiang Kuang's combat prowess was extremely powerful. That 5th level ascendant from the city lord manor couldn't be compared to him. And at this moment, the battle intent gushing forth from Qin Wentian was undoubtedly a form of provocation towards Jiang Kuang. A declaration of war. Under such circumstances, Qin Wentian actually dared to declare war against Jiang Kuang in front of so many people. Big brother Qin. Qin Qing's eyes turned slightly red, feeling moved in her heart. She had heard from Qin Wentian before that Qin Wentian came from a particle world and didn't have any powerful background. Coming here in such a domineering manner was merely a method to confuse his enemies. This was extremely risky, but Qin Wentian actually didn't hesitate to do so for her. In addition, Qin Wentian's strength was truly powerful. Back then, that person who injured her grandpa was easily slain by him. Big brother Qin is such a good person and his talent is so high. Please don't let anything happen to him because of me. I'd rather die myself. Qin Qing mused. The eyes of the fragile young girl at this moment gleamed with a resolute light. She had implicated her grandpa and Qin Feng back then. This time around, she must not implicate Qin Wentian as well. A powerful astral wind tore apart the space. Qin Wentian's aura surged as his long black hair danced wildly in the wind. His entire being was incomparably demonic. Resplendent runic light circulated around his body, as though he was clad in a fiend god armor, exuding an unexcelled might. Beside Jiang Kuang, quite a few people stood up. A terrifying immortal might gushed forth, enveloping Qin Wentian. However, at this moment Jiang Kuang also stood up. He lifted his hand, indicating for the people beside him to stop. As for himself, an incomparably sharp aura gushed forth. His entire person was like a supreme killing weapon, exuding a terrifying destructive might. 2nd level celestial phenomenon? Jiang Kuang coldly laughed. Although Qin Wentian had instantly killed a 5th level ascendant, he still didn't place Qin Wentian in his eyes. His cultivation base at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon wasn't something that the opponent earlier could compare to. Jiang Kuang would never imagine that he would be defeated by a 2nd level ascendant. Absolutely not. Boom! Stomping his foot on the ground, Jiang Kuang stepped out. A fearsome might gushed forth from him, sweeping across the heavens and earth. His entire body circulated with a jet-black glow, terrifying to the extreme. Rumble! Qin Wentian lifted his palms and blasted out towards Jiang Kuang, who was soaring in the air. The star-seizing great palm imprint blotted out the skies, incomparably gigantic, as though a single strike from it could shatter the entire space. That gigantic palm imprint instantly enveloped Jiang Kuang as it smashed downwards. A pitch-black ferocious spear materialized in Jiang Kuang's hands. Destructive qi circulated around the tip of the spear as Jiang Kuang abruptly stabbed out towards the gigantic palm imprint. It was as though an incomparably terrifying amount of destructive energy was gathered at a single point, slamming into the gigantic palm imprint. With a thunderous boom, the gigantic palm imprint was directly shattered into pieces. However, that destructive black light continued to wreak havoc in the air. Evidently, Qin Wentian didn't think that he would be able to defeat Jiang Kuang, who was at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon with a single strike. When he blasted out that attack, his energy was already frenziedly accumulating. The light circulating around his body grew even more resplendent. After absorbing the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, his fleshly body grew even more terrifying. His entire body seemed to be made of copper and steel, with numerous runic inscriptions circulating around it. It was as though his body was a tyrannical divine weapon. The Fiend God Body refinement art was used to forge a true Fiend God body. Your attack is too weak. Jiang Kuang stood in the air as he roared at Qin Wentian. As the sound of his voice faded, Qin Wentian's palms blasted out once more. At this instant, an even more resplendent palm imprint covered the entire space. The light circulating around it caused the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. Rumbling sounds rang out. Jiang Kuang coldly snorted. The grayish qi around the spear in his hands frenziedly circulated as he blasted out once more, shattering the gigantic palm imprint into pieces. Just a mere 2nd-level ascendant. How can his attack threaten young Master Jiang Kuang? An expert from the Jiang clan stood below, staring at the two of them as he emotionlessly commented. That's right, this man truly doesn't know the immensity of death. The spectators all voiced out their agreement. However, many understood in their hearts that Qin Wentian's strength was already extremely tyrannical. If their positions were switched, Qin Wentian would be at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon while Jiang Kuang was at the 2nd level of celestial phenomenon. Most probably, Qin Wentian would be able to kill Jiang Kuang with a single strike. However, Jiang Kuang clearly had no way to kill Qin Wentian with a single strike. Qin Wentian's countenance was resolute. There were no fluctuations in his expression. His palms blasted out once more, shaking the heavens and earth. Numerous terrifying palm imprints could destroy everything, collapsing the entire space. These palm imprints actually fused together, transforming into an even greater towering palm imprint that could suppress everything, exuding boundless might. Jiang Kuang frowned. That gigantic palm imprint in the air seemed to be able to be split into many different palm imprints. Each palm imprint contained the might of the earlier attack, and now that they were stacked together, it was unknown how many times stronger it was. But even so, would it be useful? This would only cause him to put more effort into this battle. A terrifying black light circulated around Jiang Kuang's body as numerous ferocious spears appeared around him, exuding a terrifying corrosive energy. Go! Jiang Kuang roared. The numerous ferocious spears seemed as though they wanted to penetrate through the void, soaring through the ages. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying spears slammed into the gigantic palm imprint in the air, unceasingly causing cracks to appear on the palm imprint. Finally, with a thunderous boom, the gigantic palm imprint shattered into pieces. A cold smile appeared on Jiang Kuang's face. This should be your limit soon, right? Jiang Kuang coldly spoke. If this was the case, he had absolute confidence that he would be able to kill Qin Wentian right here and now. But at this moment he saw Qin Wentian's body growing larger. In addition to the fiend god armor circulating around him, Qin Wentian resembled a true fiend god. His eyes gleamed with a cold light, causing people to tremble in fear. Limit? Still too early for that. Qin Wentian laughed. It was still the same gigantic palm imprint he blasted out earlier. But this time around the size of the palm imprint was even greater, and the might contained within was even more terrifying. Could truly be said to be world-shaking. Preposterous. Jiang Kuang was somewhat angered. A terrifying black light circulated frenziedly around him as cracking sounds rang out from his body. It was as though he had become even more imposing. Countless strands of long hair coalesced together, transforming into a supreme long hair. He stared at Qin Wentian in the air as he coldly spoke, "You have been attacking me all this while. It's about time for you to have a taste of my attacks." "I'm not free," Qin Wentian roared. His palms could pluck the stars and seize the moon as he attacked once more. Instantly, the might of his attacks erupted forth. Such explosive power was sufficient to shock many people. "Is that so?" Jiang Kuang was finally enraged. At the start he was only probing out with his attacks, wanting to humiliate Qin Wentian, and let him understand that a second-level ascendant wasn't enough. But at this moment, he discovered that Qin Wentian's strength was beyond his expectations. He was 3 levels above Qin Wentian, and yet he was still in a defensive state. If this continued on, he would be in an even more passive position. Jiang Kuang had to take the initiative to attack. Boom boom boom. Numerous incomparably gigantic palm imprints slammed down from the sky. Jiang Kuang unceasingly defended against them. The tyrannical might of the attacks caused the entire space to tremble as flames gradually appeared in the air. Even with such offensive power, he is still in a passive position. Jiang Kuang felt extremely unhappy in his heart. Young Master Jiang Kuang is actually still playing with him? From my point of view, he should just finish him off directly. The spectators below whispered. Yet they didn't know that at this moment, Jiang Kuang was also under immense pressure. At this moment, numerous silhouettes of Qin Wentian appeared in the air. It was as though there were tens of thousands of them attacking at the same time. The might of this attack caused even Jiang Kuang to feel his heart palpitating with trepidation. Chapter 762. Tens of thousands of destructive palm imprints slammed down. The entire space seemed to be on the verge of collapse. The spear in Jiang Kuang's hand slashed out as his constellation flashed. Behind Jiang Kuang, an incomparably gigantic spear manifested, surrounded by a pitch-black chi of destruction. "Kill!" Jiang Kuang roared. Being suppressed by Qin Wentian's unceasing attacks, Jiang Kuang's anger had long been ignited. At this moment, the terrifying spear in his hand spun madly as the black hairs shot out, directly smashing into the millions of palm imprints. The heavens and earth trembled as rumbling sounds echoed unceasingly, only to see Jiang Kuang stepping out as his palms blasted out explosively. A gigantic spear over tens of meters in length shot through the air, aiming for Qin Wentian's true body. Qin Wentian's physique grew incomparably terrifying. Runic light shone resplendently, circulating around his body. His physique was gigantic, akin to a fiend god. His constellation appeared, suppressing all other constellations. Behind Qin Wentian, a giant shining with resplendent runic light appeared, capable of trampling the heavens and earth, suppressing the ancient eras. It shone brilliantly in tandem with Qin Wentian's true body. Countless terrifying suppressive bodies slammed downwards. Qin Wentian stomped on the air, causing a rumbling sound to echo out as the entire space trembled. The black hairs rushed over, yet they were actually trampled by a single stomp. Their frenzied howls of rage finally echoed out with a deafening rumble as they were crushed into dust. "You want the limit? Let me show you." Qin Wentian coldly spoke. White light flashed from his body, intertwining with the light circulating around him. At this instant, Qin Wentian seemed to be bathed in divine light, capable of connecting the heavens and earth. "Suppress!" Qin Wentian roared. The suppressive might of the fiend god heavenly suppression art erupted forth, shattering the countless spears and causing the entire space to solidify. At this moment, the energy circulating around Qin Wentian had the power to destroy everything. "Young master, be careful." An immortal foundation expert warned Jiang Kuang when he sensed the might. This attack was already extremely powerful. They could sense that it had already reached the limits of Jiang Kuang's combat prowess. This young man at the second level of celestial phenomenon truly had terrifying combat prowess. Jiang Kuang's palms trembled as a not very long ferocious spear appeared in his hands. He casually pierced through the air, causing a destructive current to sweep forth as a black-colored chi of annihilation circulated in the air. Qin Wentian retreated explosively. His tyrannical attack was completely disintegrated by a single stab from Jiang Kuang. Immortal weapon. Qin Wentian retreated into the air, staring at the ferocious spear in Jiang Kuang's hands. His eyes gleamed with an unexcelled sharpness as he stared at Jiang Kuang. So this is the extent of your cultivation base at the 5th level of celestial phenomenon. Regardless of combat prowess or weaponsmithing, I, Qin, am superior to you. I, Qin, originally have no grudge with the Jiang clan and I don't wish to stir up more trouble. If you release him now, I, Qin, will let this matter rest. I, Qin, will no longer pursue this matter. Qin Wentian's voice was as domineering as ever. It wasn't that he was extremely confident, but rather it was because he deeply understood a logic. In the immortal realms, if he appeared to be weak and had no confidence, let alone fighting against Jiang Kuang, he wouldn't even be able to walk to Jiang Kuang's side. Only by bringing out an air of arrogance that belonged to you would you be able to gain the respect of others. Naturally, the prerequisite was that you must have sufficient strength to match the domineering aura you displayed. If not, how would you be able to shock the experts at the banquet? And as expected, after personally witnessing Qin Wentian's combat prowess, the people of the Jiang clan regarded Qin Wentian with even more respect. With such combat prowess, if someone said that he wasn't a genius from a major power, they wouldn't believe it. Looking at the age of this person, he shouldn't be too old. He should be below 40 years of age. Jiang Kuang inclined his head. He similarly stared at Qin Wentian. In a battle of 3 levels, he was actually at a disadvantage. This wasn't something glorious at all. Your combat prowess isn't bad, but if it's merely this, I still don't wish to hand her over. Jiang Kuang stared at Qin Wentian. Today, he definitely wanted Qin Wentian to reveal his origins. If he didn't, he can forget about bringing the woman away. Jiang Kuang didn't care about Qin Wentian's strength. The Jiang clan wasn't merely powerful in the Cloud Prefecture. Right now, they still maintained a very good relationship with many major powers. Even if Qin Wentian really came from a power that even the Jiang clan couldn't afford to antagonize, those major powers wouldn't act against them for such a minor matter. In addition, if Qin Wentian really had such capabilities, he would have already said it. Why was there a need for him to act like this? In fact, Jiang Kuang even thought that maybe the power Qin Wentian was from was weaker than his Jiang clan. Hence, he didn't dare to speak. And precisely because of this, he definitely had to force Qin Wentian to speak. If not, Qin Wentian wouldn't be able to bring the woman away. Are you sure you want to do this? Qin Wentian coldly asked. His cold eyes stared at Jiang Kuang, containing a coldness that would cause the hearts of others to tremble. Yes. Jiang Kuang nodded. Fine. Qin Wentian spat out a word. Right now, he was exceptionally calm. A bright light flashed as Qin Wentian stepped towards Qin Qing. Wanting to snatch the woman away directly? Jiang Kuang's eyes flashed with mockery. The ferocious spear in his hand stabbed out once more as boundless destructive qi frenziedly gushed towards Qin Wentian. It was as though this entire space was about to be destroyed. Qin Wentian stepped on the immortal shuttle, arcing through the air in a beautiful arc, as fast as lightning. A third eye appeared in the center of his brows, directly piercing through Jiang Kuang's vision. Instantly, a terrifying constellation appeared in Jiang Kuang's sea of consciousness, as a terrifying golden body bore down on him. At this instant, his mind violently shuddered. The demon sword slashed through the air, piercing towards Jiang Kuang with the speed of lightning. The humming demon sword instantly erupted forth with a fearsome killing intent. You dare! The Immortal Foundation experts in the surroundings roared when they saw Qin Wentian actually daring to unleash killing intent. Even before they arrived, their immortal might had already descended. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian directly slammed his palm onto his body. At this instant, a true immortal might circulated around him, as though he was clad in a layer of immortal armor. Even when Jiang Kuang's ferocious spear pierced into his body, he didn't move at all. Stepping on the immortal shuttle, he directly dashed towards Jiang Kuang. Impudent! An Immortal Foundation expert from the Jiang clan blasted out a terrifying finger attack, blasting onto Qin Wentian. However, the immortal armor on Qin Wentian's body emitted a crisp cracking sound, as though it was about to shatter. Yet it wasn't completely destroyed. The immortal armor directly blocked this attack for him, as he continued flying towards Jiang Kuang. The speed of the immortal shuttle was too fast, so fast that in the blink of an eye, he already appeared before Jiang Kuang. Jiang Kuang's countenance drastically changed when he saw that his attack was useless against Qin Wentian. At this moment of life and death, he didn't even have the time to take out any other treasures. Everything happened too quickly. Poochie! How sharp was the demon's sword! When it pierced into Jiang Kuang's body, it was like slicing through tofu, directly penetrating into his body, instantly destroying his life force. No! Jiang Kuang's countenance was filled with terror as he screamed in a frenzy. The people at the banquet all stood up abruptly. At this instant, they only felt a chill running through their bodies as they shivered. At this instant they truly felt extremely cold. Today was the day the City Lord Manor held a welcoming banquet for the Jiang clan. As the leader of the Jiang clan, Jiang Kuang was actually going to be killed in the banquet? All of you, stay your hands. A cold voice swept through the air. Qin Wentian's sword was already pressed against Jiang Kuang's heart. The runic armor on his body was already completely shattered, and he was already surrounded by the experts of the Jiang clan. These people all erupted forth with fearsome might as their hair fluttered in the wind. Their eyes were incomparably cold as they stared at Qin Wentian. They could feel their hearts pounding madly as they stared fixedly at the sword stabbed into Jiang Kuang's heart by Qin Wentian. Release him! An Immortal Foundation expert waved his hand, causing the entire space around him to be sealed. Light sounds rang out. This was the sound of the sword rubbing against flesh. Qin Wentian grabbed onto Jiang Kuang with one hand while the sword in his other hand pierced deeper, aiming for Jiang Kuang's heart. At this moment Jiang Kuang was already scared silly, like a wooden chicken. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that this man could take his life in an instant. Not only that, he actually dared to do so. Make way! Qin Wentian pushed Jiang Kuang's body forward. Those experts were all panting as their powerful auras fluctuated intensely. But as Qin Wentian advanced step by step, they instinctively opened up a path. Nobody dared to obstruct him. This was a madman. He actually dared to use such a ruthless method in front of so many Immortal Foundation experts. He would definitely dare to kill Jiang Kuang. Release me and the matter earlier will be written off. Jiang Kuang only felt his heart turning cold. He was scared silly, truly scared silly. He had never seen such a ruthless person before. Qin Wentian merely glanced at him coldly, not saying a word. This was the worst-case scenario. Before he came here, he had already made his preparations. He had many treasures left behind by the immortals of the War Immortal Palace, and should be able to suppress Jiang Kuang's life in an instant. If these people of the Jiang clan didn't release Jiang Kuang, he would do the same as now, directly kill him. Qin Qing, come over. Qin Wentian walked to the side of Qin Qing and spoke to him, who was still in a daze. Qin Qing returned to her senses and directly stepped onto Qin Wentian's immortal shuttle. Those Immortal Foundation experts surrounded them once again. Sir, you can release the young master now. You can leave now. Bzz. The immortal shuttle directly arced through the air, speeding towards a certain direction. His demon sword hummed in Jiang Kuang's body as Jiang Kuang screamed in agony. His life force was unceasingly being destroyed. Those around him were stunned. Nobody dared to block Qin Wentian. The immortal shuttle directly arced through the air, speeding away. Chase! The experts chased after them only to see Qin Wentian directly taking out a spatial treasure. Terrifying spatial fluctuations gushed forth as Qin Wentian flung out his palm. With a scream of agony, Jiang Kuang's body was ruthlessly flung towards the experts of the Jiang clan. Bzz. Spatial energy gushed forth as Qin Wentian and Qin Qing vanished. At the same instant, a surge of immortal might gushed forth from Jiang Kuang's body. A terrifying shadow appeared as it let out a terrifying roar of rage, causing the bodies of everyone to turn numb. This was none other than the immortal sense of Jiang Kuang's father. Earlier when Qin Wentian attacked, it was already too late for him to react. Hence he chose to hide and wait for an opportunity to act. However, Qin Wentian seemed to have long discovered it. Chapter 763. Qin Wentian had indeed discovered this strand of immortal sense. At the instant his demon sword pierced into Jiang Kuang's body, a strand of immortal might gushed forth from Jiang Kuang. He knew that Immortal Foundation experts would be able to leave a strand of immortal sense on their descendants. Bai Wuya did so, and Zhao Yiyan did the same back then. How could Qin Wentian not be on guard? Hence, he decisively left Jiang Kuang behind while he left directly. Jiang Kuang. That strand of immortal sense hugged Jiang Kuang's body. Right now, Jiang Kuang's life force was almost completely severed. His internal organs had all suffered a destructive blow, and even his heart was almost destroyed. The last strike from Qin Wentian was aimed at taking his life. Qin Wentian was decisive and ruthless, showing no mercy at all. However, Jiang Kuang didn't die yet. He still had a strand of life force left in him. It was none other than the strand of immortal sense from his father that protected his heart, preventing it from being extinguished. But even so, Jiang Kuang was destined to be a cripple if he didn't die. There was no way for him to recover. This sudden scene truly shocked everyone. Even Xie Yu felt his entire body turning cold as he perspired profusely. Too decisive and ruthless. Jiang Kuang completely held the advantage, and there was even an immortal foundation expert beside him. They all thought that as long as Jiang Kuang didn't relent, Qin Wentian wouldn't be able to bring Jiang Kuang away. In fact, even Qin Wentian himself wouldn't be able to leave this place. However, everyone underestimated the trump cards Qin Wentian had, as well as his decisiveness and ruthlessness. For the sake of a woman, he really killed Jiang Kuang of the Jiang clan. At that critical moment, his sword pierced into Jiang Kuang's body. With just a single thought, he could take Jiang Kuang's life. Who would dare to obstruct him? Even the strand of immortal sense from Jiang Kuang's father didn't dare to appear on Jiang Kuang's body. The moment it appeared, Jiang Kuang would die without a doubt. And it was precisely this kind of madness that gave Qin Wentian a glimmer of hope, allowing him to bring Jiang Kuang away. He simply doesn't want his life. Han Luo, who was in the governor's manor, felt his heart trembling. This was too crazy. Earlier, if Qin Wentian made the slightest mistake, his life would most probably end here. For the sake of a woman, was it worth it to take such a risk? There weren't many people like Qin Wentian. With his cultivation base at the second level of celestial phenomenon, he forcefully fought against Jiang Kuang, who was at the fifth level of celestial phenomenon. Not only that, Jiang Kuang was the first to take out an immortal ranked weapon. As for Zhao Yuyan, when she stared at the dying Jiang Kuang, her entire body trembled as her countenance turned pale. It was him again, destroying her hope. How could he dare to directly kill Jiang Kuang? How could he be so audacious? If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. The strand of immortal sense from Jiang Kuang's father icily spoke, causing Bu Yanyu, who was still in a dumbfounded state, to come back to her senses. She immediately commanded, "Search the entire city." A terrifying gleam of sharpness flickered in the eyes of the supreme elder of the Golden Armor sect. What a crazy fellow. His heart was filled with bewilderment. That fellow clearly had an extremely terrifying character behind his back. Why would he take the risk to kill Jiang Kuang? Could it be that the sect elders of this young man didn't like juniors to rely on their own prestige? Maybe this was the only explanation. As expected of a disciple nurtured by a supreme expert, Qin Wentian was only at the second level of celestial phenomenon. Yet his methods already caused him to feel admiration. If he was in Qin Wentian's position, he would definitely not dare to do this. This was the consensus of everyone here. No one would dare to imagine that Qin Wentian would actually do this. Qin Wentian did this because he had no other choice. He had to save Qin Qing no matter what. Hence, he came to the city Lord Manor in such a domineering manner, creating a false impression, causing the Jiang clan to release Qin Qing out of fear. To the Jiang clan in Jiang Kuang, Qin Qing was insignificant. Releasing her wouldn't affect them at all. As long as Jiang Kuang released her, he would leave immediately. But since Jiang Kuang refused to release her, he could only act himself. And given his strength in the City Lord Manor, where experts were as common as the clouds, he would definitely die if he fought head-on. Hence, he grabbed hold of an opportunity and killed Jiang Kuang before bringing Qin Qing away. Naturally, to do all this, he still couldn't do without the spoils of war he plundered from the experts from the War Immortal Palace back in the particle world. For example, that defensive treasure was an immortal rank treasure that could only be activated once, and was exceedingly valuable. In order to save Qin Qing, he had no choice but to use it. The long-distance teleportation treasure was an exquisite scroll that could teleport a distance of tens of thousands of miles. Qin Wentian and Qin Qing directly appeared in another location in the worry-free city. Intense spatial fluctuations ravaged the area, causing Qin Qing's footsteps to be unstable. Qin Wentian grabbed hold of her and soared into the clouds, not daring to stay for even a moment longer. Even a distance of tens of thousands of miles wasn't considered much to Immortal Foundation experts. They had to leave the worry-free city in the shortest time possible. The Immortal Shuttle was a speed-type Immortal-ranked weapon. It was as fast as lightning. Qin Qing was pulled along by Qin Wentian. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian as warmth filled her heart. However, she didn't say any words of gratitude. She would never have imagined that Qin Wentian would actually do such a crazy thing for her. Big brother Qin, Grandpa and Qin Feng. Qin Qing spoke in a low voice. Don't worry, before we headed to the City Lord Manor, I already told them to leave. The Qin clan has also dispersed. Qin Wentian replied. Since he was already heading to the City Lord Manor, there was no need for him to leave behind any worries. When Qin Qing heard Qin Wentian's words, she completely set her heart at ease. In the air, the Immortal Shuttle was as fast as lightning, directly leaving the worry-free city as it sped towards the horizons. Since he killed Jiang Kuang of the Jiang clan, he had to stay as far away as possible. Even the area of tens of thousands of miles outside the worry-free city wasn't safe. The immortal realms were boundlessly vast. It wouldn't be so easy for the Jiang clan to find him. Jiang Kuang's death caused a huge wave of commotion in the worry-free city. The entire city was in an uproar, and the City Lord Manor was searching for him. Even chickens and dogs weren't able to rest in peace. The people of the worry-free city also heard that the young master of the Jiang clan, Jiang Kuang, who came to the worry-free city domineeringly and was personally welcomed by the various major powers of the worry-free city, was actually killed on the first banquet. As for whether he died or not, it was still unknown. The news was sealed, but the Jiang clan was completely enraged. The City Lord Manor was under immense pressure. In fact, even the Jiangling king of the worry-free city had personally come. The Jiangling country controlled many cities, and the Jiangling king of a country could be said to be a feudal vassal. But now that the young master of the Jiang clan almost died in the Jiangling country, he, as the Jiangling king, couldn't rest in peace. Hence, he came to cooperate with the Jiang clan to capture Qin Wentian. Very swiftly, Qin Wentian's arrest warrant was circulated throughout the entire Jiangling country. But to Qin Wentian, he had no idea about all of this. In a mountain range tens of thousands of miles away from the worry-free city, there was a stretch of jade-green mountain peaks. On one of the ancient peaks there were a few simple-looking rooms. Outside the rooms there was a stretch of lush greenery, with ancient trees towering into the skies. At the edge of the cliff, 3 silhouettes could be seen. One of them was currently practicing his fist arts. It was none other than Qin Feng. The other person was sitting cross-legged, facing the cliff as he breathed in and out. This person was none other than Qin Wentian. Other than them, there was also a young girl sitting not far away, silently observing the two of them. Naturally, this was none other than Qin Qing. During this month, Qin Feng's improvement is truly swift. He's already breaking through to the 9th level of Yuanfu, and has even comprehended a mandate. Big brother Qin's comprehension of the martial Tao is truly profound. No wonder he's so powerful. Qin Qing felt joy in her heart when she saw Qin Feng's improvement. If only her big brother Qin could stay by their side forever. In that case, he could continue to teach Qin Feng and she could cook food for him to eat. Qin Qing, why are you in a daze? Qin Mu walked over and sat beside Qin Qing. I'm thinking how good it would be if big brother Qin could stay here forever. We are truly fortunate to be able to meet big brother Qin. Qin Qing held her head in her hands as she smiled. Yeah, we are indeed very fortunate. Qin Mu nodded. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian, their entire family would have been finished. However, although Qin Feng is your big brother Qin's disciple, it's unavoidable for us to be separated. Qin Qing, don't be too sad when the time comes. Your big brother Qin needs to pursue his own future. At that time we will roam the 4 directions, the further the better. Let's see if we can leave this boundless Jiangling country, or even the Cloud Prefecture. Qin Mu spoke to Qin Qing, his words causing Qin Qing's countenance to turn dim. That's right, big brother Qin had his own path to walk. How could he stay with them forever? Big brother Qin has already done so much for them. He even risked his life to save her. Qin Qing nodded. At this moment, Qin Wentian, who was sitting at the edge of the cliff, emitted waves of his aura, as though a mysterious intent was faintly discernible. Qin Mu's eyes flashed with sharpness as he stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's entire body circulated with resplendent astral light as a mysterious energy radiating outwards in all directions. There seemed to be several different types of energy, extremely mystical. Your big brother Qin's cultivation base seems to have broken through. Seems like he's about to step into the third level of celestial phenomenon, Qin Mu mumbled. At this moment, Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath, as though he wanted to absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth into his body. His eyes opened as he felt a sense of refreshment. Master, you've woken up. Qin Feng ran over in joy when he saw Qin Wentian standing up. After that, he immediately pestered Qin Wentian, asking him about the problems he had in his cultivation. Qin Wentian answered them one by one, allowing Qin Wentian to comprehend them himself. After that, he tossed Qin Feng to the side and walked towards Qin Mu, smiling as he asked, "Old man, what are your plans for the future?" Roaming the four directions, it's impossible for us to return to the worry-free city. We will do our best to leave the Jiangling country, but I don't know how long it would take. Qin Mu smiled. It's good that old man has his own plans. As for Qin Feng and Qin Qing, I'll have to trouble you to take care of them in the future. Qin Wentian spoke. We're leaving. Qin Mu started. It's about time. We can't stay in the mountain range forever, right? Qin Wentian smiled. Master. Qin Feng ran over. Qin Qing glanced at Qin Wentian before lowering her head. However, Qin Mu was extremely calm. He patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder and spoke, "That's fine as well. Us grandparents and grandchildren will drink a few cups with you. Consider it as a farewell gift for you." Right. Qin Wentian nodded his head. The four of them sat in a circle and picked up their wine cups, starting to drink. Even that last Qin Qing didn't say anything, she only drank her wine. The four of them didn't bring up any sad topics, and only minded their own business. As they chatted, the sun had already set. Qin Feng and Qin Qing had also fallen asleep on the grass. Qin Wentian glanced at the two of them as he smiled and nodded his head to Qin Mu, after which, his silhouette flickered as he disappeared under the moonlight. After Qin Wentian left, the eyes of Qin Feng and Qin Qing, who were sleeping quietly, glistened with tears. Chapter 764. The worry-free city alone was already extremely vast. Let alone the entire Jiangling country, there were countless cities and even more outside the cities. It was unknown how many transcendent powers there were. As for the Cloud Prefecture, even if an immortal foundation expert wanted to venture out, it would be extremely difficult. From this, one could very well imagine how vast the Cloud Prefecture was. In a certain wilderness of the Jiangling country, a young man sat on a demonic beast, flying through the air at a speed that was neither fast nor slow. This young man sat cross-legged with his eyes closed, as though he was cultivating on the back of the demonic beast. As for the demonic beast, it was a pure white one. Its entire body was covered in fur, and it looked extremely adorable. So sleepy. The demonic beast spoke in a human voice as it stretched its front paws, appearing extremely comical. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes and directly rapped Little Rascal's head. He spoke in a depressed tone. "You little rascal, you slept for an eternity. I still need to borrow the power of an immortal treasure to keep you by my side. You just woke up not too long ago, and you're already feeling sleepy again? It's because I slept for too long that I don't have any energy left." Little Rascal slept for several hundred days and finally woke up a few days ago. Right now, his speech was much more fluent than before. Although his voice still sounded a little childish at the very least, he was able to express the meaning he wanted to convey in a single breath. Also, don't call me Little Rascal in the future. This name is too lousy. Little Rascal inclined his head as he spoke. What should I call you then? Qin Wentian asked. Let this Bao think. What do you think of me as a primordial beast king? Little Rascal's eyes brightened. Scram. Qin Wentian slapped Little Rascal. Did this little rascal think he was a primordial beast king? AI, this Bao has already awakened the memories of a divine beast. I'm indeed a descendant of a primordial beast king. How can you treat me like this? Little Rascal sighed as he stared at the sky, feeling a little lonely. You've learned a lot after waking up, but only in the field of bragging. Qin Wentian continued to roll his eyes. This Baobao can't be bothered to argue with you. I'm so sleepy. Little Rascal's eyes were about to close, but at this moment, he saw a few silhouettes flying over from afar. One of them was a beautiful woman dressed in revealing clothing. Her snow-white skin was clearly visible, and her cleavage was faintly discernible. So beautiful. Little Rascal's sleepiness instantly vanished. With a flicker of his silhouette, he brought Qin Wentian along as he dashed over. His body shrunk as he directly leapt into the embrace of the woman. Qin Wentian felt an impulse to cough up blood. He directly halted his movements, only to see Little Rascal transforming into a beam of white light as it dashed into the bosom of the woman. "Sister, you're so beautiful." Little Rascal's baby-like voice rang out. Just when the woman wanted to be angry, she instantly calmed down when she heard Little Rascal's voice. A smile appeared on her face as she hugged Little Rascal. What an adorable little demonic beast. Of course, this Baobao is a one-of-a-kind demonic beast under the heavens. Little Rascal's claws started to get naughty, causing black lines to appear on Qin Wentian's face as he watched from the side. What a sin! Especially when the few young men beside the woman shot dagger-like cold gazes at him, Qin Wentian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. In the future, he would definitely be tricked to death by Little Rascal. Ever since he woke up, Little Rascal had become more and more perverted. At this moment, one of the young men stared at Qin Wentian as his gaze changed. After which, a bright light flashed in his eyes as he smiled at Qin Wentian. "Sir, where are you from? Where are you planning to go?" "I'm just a wanderer, I have no destination." Qin Wentian laughed carefreely. His eyes flickered with a hint of a smile, but his heart trembled slightly. Earlier, what did that look in his eyes mean? Wandering the immortal realms is extremely dangerous. The few of us are from the same sect and are currently preparing to head to the Driftsnow city of the Jiangling country. "Sir, since you are roaming the immortal realms, why don't we travel together? At the very least we can take care of each other. How about it?" That young man smiled, as though he had a favorable impression of Qin Wentian. Sure. Just when Qin Wentian wanted to reject, Little Rascal interjected. Qin Wentian glared fiercely at Little Rascal. At this moment, the eyes of the woman turned to Qin Wentian as she smiled. "My name is Leng Yi. How about we travel together?" "Just agree to this, beautiful sister." Little Rascal instigated. Qin Wentian helplessly nodded his head. "Sure. But why are you guys heading to the Driftsnow city?" "Sir, you don't know?" Leng Yi curiously stared at Qin Wentian. She smiled. "The immortal spirit of the Driftsnow city has manifested. Since a year ago, the people of the Cloud Prefecture have all been rushing towards the Driftsnow city of our Jiangling country. Sir, have you been staying out in the wilderness and rarely interacted with others?" "That's true. Recently, I've been cultivating in the wilderness." Qin Wentian nodded. "However, what does the immortal spirit of the Driftsnow city mean?" "Sir, you will know when you get there. This is a major event in the Cloud Prefecture, especially to the Grandmasters of the Cloud Prefecture. Back then, the sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Jiang clan, sent a group of people to the Driftsnow city to scout ahead. However, something unexpected happened when they passed by the worry-free city. I wonder if Sir has heard of this?" Leng Yi smiled at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. He didn't expect that the people of the Jiang clan would pass by the worry-free city because they wanted to go to the Driftsnow city. However, since the Jiang clan wanted to go to the Driftsnow city, it would be dangerous for them to stay there. "No, I don't know much about this." Qin Wentian shook his head. "Okay then, let's travel together then." Leng Yi smiled. Qin Wentian glanced at Little Rascal before nodding his head. "Sure. I haven't asked for Sir's name yet." Leng Yi had a radiant smile on her face as she stepped out, arriving at Qin Wentian's side. Momentarily, a fragrant fragrance drifted over, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a strange light as he indifferently stated, "Tianwen. So it's Brother Tianwen. The journey to the Driftsnow city is extremely far. Being able to be acquainted with Brother Tianwen can be considered fate. Let's set off now." Leng Yi smiled as she took a step forward. Momentarily, the young men beside her exchanged glances before they too followed her. Qin Wentian's countenance didn't change at all as he strolled through the air. The worry-free city could be considered as a remote city in the Jiangling country. As for the Driftsnow city, it was one of the 3 largest cities in the Jiangling country. It was located in the heart of the Jiangling country and had many experts there. Just this journey alone took Qin Wentian and his group several days to complete. Now that they were a few thousand miles away, they could faintly see the majestic city that resembled a floating city in the sky. At this moment, Qin Wentian was standing a few thousand miles away from the city. This place was already a place where many people resided and was like a city of its own. But this small city outside the Driftsnow city might be able to be considered a city if it existed alone. But when placed at the periphery of the Driftsnow city, it was like a tiled roof house compared to a luxurious mansion. It was so insignificant. From afar, there was a towering city so tall that it pierced through the skies. The entire city was like this. The city walls were over 10,000 meters tall, and on top of the city walls, there were 18 divine weapons embedded into them. The sharpness of these weapons could shake the heavens and earth, terrifying to the extreme. The worry-free city is just a remote city in the Jiangling country. Yet it's already so vast, having several major immortal rank powers. The worry-free city is just a small city in the Jiangling country. This Driftsnow city is one of the 3 largest cities in the Jiangling country, and can be considered as the capital city. Its prosperity and strength is probably 10 times or even 100 times greater compared to the worry-free city. Just the size of this city alone was already comparable to an ordinary particle world. It was a true major city. Brother Tian, we will be arriving soon. Leng Yi, who was at the side, walked up and stood beside Qin Wentian. She stared at the crowds of people in the air and on the ground as she smiled. Look, during this period of time, the number of people entering the Driftsnow city is countless. Even some of the major powers of the Cloud Prefecture are here. Does the legend of the Driftsnow city really exist? Qin Wentian mumbled. During these days, he gradually learned of the rumors regarding the Driftsnow city. That was an ancient legend, and right now, the legend seemed to be on the verge of becoming a reality. This was why it attracted experts from all over the Cloud Prefecture, including the sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Jiang clan. Being able to cause such a commotion, how could it be fake? The experts of the Cloud Prefecture are all extraordinary characters. Leng Yi smiled. Let's go. Let's find an inn to enjoy some delicacies before we continue our journey into the Driftsnow city. How about it? Right? Qin Wentian nodded his head. A white light flashed as Little Rascal leaped onto his shoulder. It stared at the city and spoke in a baby voice. This city is so tall. This Baobao can sense an awakening energy. Are you for real? Leng Yi giggled as she stared at Little Rascal. This Baobao's words are naturally true. Little Rascal was unconvinced. "Okay, I believe you." Leng Yi nodded her head. However, she only saw that Qin Wentian was still standing there unmoving. She involuntarily turned her head and asked, let's go." "It's fine. Since we've already arrived at the Driftsnow city, let's part ways here." Qin Wentian emotionlessly spoke. After which, he directly brought Little Rascal in another direction, heading towards the Driftsnow city. This scene caused Leng Yi to frown as her beautiful eyes abruptly flickered with a cold light. "Wait a minute." At this moment Leng Yi spoke. There was no longer any warmth in her voice, it was filled with coldness. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over, staring at Leng Yi. "Is there anything? Your name isn't Tianwen, it should be Qin Wentian." Leng Yi twisted her slender waist as she walked towards Qin Wentian. The smile in her eyes flickered with a hint of teasing. "How do you know my name?" Qin Wentian asked in a low voice. "You're already wanted by the Jiangling country, how can I not know?" Leng Yi laughed. After which, she glanced at Little Rascal. This little bastard even knows how to take advantage of this old lady. Do you think this old lady doesn't know? Little Rascal's eyes flickered. He stared at Leng Yi as he spoke. This Baobao is so angry. This ugly woman is so hateful. "Little bastard, do you think I should stew you into soup or braise you?" Leng Yi giggled. Several silhouettes soared up into the air. These were none other than the young men who came together with Leng Yi. At the same time, they also called for their companions, sealing off Qin Wentian's escape route. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over the surroundings. The first time he met Leng Yi, he already felt that this woman had a motive and was always on guard against her. He didn't expect that it was because he was wanted by the entire Jiangling country. Seems like he had to change his identity and enter the Drifts Now city. Chapter 765. Qin Wentian's gaze returned to Ling Yi as he calmly spoke. Make way. I lured you to the Drifts Now city along the way, and now that we are about to arrive, you suddenly want to leave? Your vigilance is truly strong. But now, do you think you can still leave? Numerous gigantic flower petals appeared behind Ling Yi, exuding a unique fragrance that caused one to feel a sense of slumber. What benefits is there for the Jiangling country to place a bounty on me? Qin Wentian asked. Your value isn't low. Regardless of whether you are captured alive or dead, as long as we can get our hands on you, you would be able to obtain 3 immortal-ranked weapons. Ling Yi spoke. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed as a cold light gleamed within. How extravagant was the Jiangling country? They actually paid such a hefty price to capture him. Most probably, they wanted to curry favor with the Jiang clan of the Cloud Prefecture. After all, he didn't have any grudges with the Jiangling king. In the eyes of the Jiangling king, capturing Qin Wentian alone would allow him to curry favor with the Jiang clan. Why not? Let's hurry up and kill him directly. If we continue to stay here, we would easily attract the attention of others. At that time there would be nothing left for us to do. A young man coldly spoke. A terrifying saber light radiated from him as his eyes gleamed with a cold silver light. Let's do it. Ling Yi nodded her head. Momentarily, the experts of the Jiangling country surrounded them. Evidently, they didn't want to cause too much of a commotion. This place was already so close to the Drifts Now city, and they were worried that there would be others who recognized Qin Wentian. In that case, if an expert stronger than them appeared, even if they managed to kill Qin Wentian, they wouldn't be able to bring his corpse away. Hence, they had to take Qin Wentian's life before it attracted attention. Ling Yi initially intended to lure Qin Wentian to the Jiangling king's manor alive. Sadly, Qin Wentian's wariness was too high, and he was prepared to leave by himself. In that case, she could only act. Didn't the warrant tell you that with your strength you're just going to die? Qin Wentian swept his gaze over everyone as the aura of a third-level ascendant instantly gushed forth. His constellation shone resplendently in the sky, and in just an instant, a tempest of sword chi manifested. The sword slaughter constellation enveloped this entire space, and that terrifying sword might cause those surrounding Qin Wentian to feel fear in their hearts. First defend, then attack. Ling Yi spoke. With regards to Qin Wentian's actual strength, she truly didn't know. Back then, she only heard that Qin Wentian sneak attacked and heavily injured the young master of the Jiang clan, Jiang Quang, but didn't explain the exact situation. If news of this leaked out, wouldn't it be a slap to the face of the Jiang clan? Hence, the wanted poster didn't reveal too much information. Everyone released their constellations, but at this moment, the sword slaughter constellation manifested a boundless sword light. Qin Wentian abruptly manifested numerous silhouettes as he grabbed out with his palms. In an instant, countless terrifying palm imprints blasted towards each and every one of them. The palm imprints shone with resplendent runic light, as well as a fearsome sword talisman. Ling Yi was only one of those being attacked. When she saw the suppressive sword might gushing over, her countenance instantly changed as she retreated with explosive speed. Wasn't Qin Wentian's cultivation base only at the 2nd level of celestial phenomenon? Why was he able to erupt forth with such overwhelming might? However, that terrifying palm imprint was still expanding unceasingly. The sword talisman flickered, directly locking down the entire space as it slammed down towards Ling Yi. Ling Yi screamed, "Brother Qin, please show mercy." How could Qin Wentian care about her? That terrifying palm imprint slammed down, crushing onto Ling Yi's body, directly killing her. He didn't have the slightest bit of tenderness for the fairer sex. This maiden's schemes were extremely deep, and her personality was extremely vicious. How could Qin Wentian show mercy? Not only for Ling Yi at this instant, several silhouettes of Qin Wentian appeared. The experts surrounding him all suffered tyrannical attacks as rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly. The cultivation bases of these people were all between the 2nd level of celestial phenomenon to the 5th level of celestial phenomenon. Without exception, all of them were directly slapped to death by Qin Wentian's palm imprint. After Qin Wentian absorbed the Sky Demon Oracle Bone, his fiend god body refinement art gradually took form. Just his fleshly body alone was already extremely tyrannical. With the fiend god heavenly suppression art, in addition to his own tyrannical attacks, as well as his comprehension of innate techniques, although he was only at the 3rd level of celestial phenomenon, his combat prowess had already reached a terrifying level. At the very least, ordinary 5th level celestial phenomenon ascendants could be slain with a single palm strike. The commotion here instantly attracted the attention of the people below. They inclined their heads and stared at the young man in the air, silently musing at how terrifying this man's combat prowess was. He was simply invincible, directly killing those who were surrounding him with a single strike. However, at this moment, Qin Wentian directly departed, moving in the direction of the Driftsnow city. Before this, he had already sensed Leng Yi's intentions towards him. It was just that he didn't know that the Jiangling country had issued a bounty for him. As to why he didn't mind following Leng Yi, it was because given Qin Wentian's strength, he didn't care about Leng Yi at all. If Leng Yi dared to have any ill intentions towards him, he could easily capture her or even kill her. The Driftsnow city was one of the 3 main cities of the Jiangling country. Right now, it could only be ranked 2nd or 3rd because it was a weaponized city. Many years ago, this Driftsnow city was extremely famous. Its fame wasn't merely limited to the Jiangling country, it could even be said to be an entire prefecture. It was just that as time flowed by, the immortal spirits of the Driftsnow city fell silent, causing this city to gradually fade out of the vision of the Cloud Prefecture. But even so, it was still extremely prosperous and could be considered as one of the most prosperous cities in the Jiangling country. Qin Wentian stood at the foot of the Driftsnow city, inclining his head as he stared at the towering city walls. It was as though this vast and boundlessly vast ancient city was constructed at an extremely high altitude. Standing at the foot of the city walls, the 10,000-meter-tall city walls seemed incomparably tiny. Each of the 18 divine weapons were incomparably gigantic. Saber, spear, sword, halberd. All of them were embedded into the walls, exuding a sense of majesty, exuding an aura of vicissitudes. The demon sword on Qin Wentian's back hummed softly as it trembled. Beams of sharpness bore down on Qin Wentian, or more accurately, onto the demon sword on Qin Wentian's back. This caused Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a strange light as he stared at the 18 divine weapons. But an instant later, the demon sword fell silent once more, as though nothing had happened at all. However, the 18 divine weapons all radiated boundless light, shooting up into the skies. At this instant, at the city walls of the Driftsnow city, the light from the divine weapons could be seen everywhere, towering up into the heavens. Inside and outside the Driftsnow city, countless figures halted at the same time as they stared at the 18 divine weapons on the towering city walls. Their eyes gleamed with sharpness as they silently mused. The 18 divine weapons have a reaction again. Seems like the legend of the Driftsnow city isn't fake. Right now the Driftsnow city is filled with experts. It's unknown how many experts of the Cloud Prefecture came here because of the legend. If everyone in this city were to become soldiers, how terrifying would that be? Someone mused. And at this moment, an insignificant young man with a demon sword on his back stepped onto the stairway leading to the Driftsnow city. After which, he entered through the wide-open city gates. Qin Wentian walked into the ancient city. He could instantly sense the simple and unadorned atmosphere of the city. The foundation of this city was much deeper compared to the worry-free city. Just by looking at the tall and sturdy buildings, he could tell that they were all constructed from unique materials. Most probably, even ordinary experts wouldn't be able to destroy them. After all, in such a large city, there would often be conflicts and battles. If the residents wanted to live in peace, they would naturally have to build their own residences to be extremely sturdy. Otherwise, they would have to rebuild their residences after being destroyed by the shockwaves of attacks. In a large city like the Driftsnow city, the residences of many experts were also constructed to the point where they were akin to divine weapons. Not only were they indestructible, they also had the ability to attack. They were all constructed by skilled weaponsmiths, and the stronger the person, the more stable their residences would be. Strolling on the streets of the Driftsnow city, there would occasionally be experts passing by. He could clearly sense that the people of this city were different from the people of the worry-free city. There were many people in the worry-free city who seemed lazy, but the experts of this city were all filled with vigor and vitality. In the air, a group of experts flew by. Among them, There were quite a few people who shone with resplendent immortal light, causing those who saw them to exclaim in shock, "Immortal light! These are Immortal Foundation experts. They seem to be experts from the War Immortal Palace. They have already sent their Immortal Foundation experts here." Someone at the side of the road spoke in a low voice, causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble. Back then, the power the old sacred emperor of the Royal Sacred Sect joined was none other than the War Immortal Palace. Qin Wentian didn't expect to meet them here in the Driftsnow city. However, the experts from the War Immortal Palace didn't recognize Qin Wentian. Even if they recognized him, the current Qin Wentian had already changed his appearance. It was impossible for them to recognize him. Qin Wentian continued to roam the city. Occasionally, he would see experts shrouded in immortal light. This indicated that they were all Immortal Foundation experts. Truly, experts are as common as the clouds. Also, I heard from the passers-by that there are many experts from major powers here. Qin Wentian entered the depths of the Driftsnow city. After walking for a long time, he found a quiet tea house beside a man-made mountain and sat down. Here, there were many people enjoying tea, and one of them had an Immortal Foundation halo around him. The people in the surroundings all had expressions of respect on their faces when they stared at him. Chapter 766. Qin Wentian also glanced at that Immortal Foundation expert, only to discover that the Immortal Foundation expert's gaze was on two young maidens at the table beside him. These two maidens were the maidservants of the young miss, and they were currently flipping through a book. The person on the first page is the one who killed Jiang Quang, Qin Wentian. The reward for capturing him is the highest, and right now, the Cloud Tower of the Zhongling country has already disseminated the wanted poster to every city. I'm afraid he will be captured soon. That young miss stared at the wanted poster as she spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian started. After which, he extended his perception and instantly saw that the first page of the wanted poster had a portrait of him drawn on it. Not only that, the portrait was exactly the same as his. This book was issued by the Cloud Tower of the Cloud Prefecture, and could be disseminated to every city in the Zhongling country in the shortest amount of time. Right now, the first page of the wanted poster was none other than the wanted poster for him, Qin Wentian. "Young miss, why do you care about this?" the maidservant beside her asked. "I've already heard of this matter in my clan. Back then, Jiang Quang refused to release his younger sister, and that was why this man killed Jiang Quang. Not only that, he did so under the eyes of so many experts of the Jiang clan, risking his life just to save his younger sister. He shouldn't have appeared on the wanted poster." The voice of that young miss was clear and melodious. The maidservant beside her hurriedly made a shushing gesture as she spoke in a low voice. "Young miss, this is an order personally issued by the Zhongling king. Also, there are too many people in the Driftsnow city. It's best not to speak of such things recklessly." That Immortal Foundation expert also took a step forward when he heard this. He then spoke to the young miss. "Young miss, it's best not to discuss the matters of the Zhongling king." The young miss was stunned for a moment before she nodded her head lightly. "Young miss, let's go." That Immortal Foundation expert spoke again. The young miss nodded and stood up together with the maidservant beside her as they turned and left the inn. Qin Wentian naturally heard the words of that Immortal Foundation expert. He didn't expect that there would actually be someone speaking up for him. Also, from their tone, that young miss seemed to be someone from the Zhongling king's manor. However, even the Zhongling king couldn't afford to antagonize the Jiang clan. Hence, the maidservant and the Immortal Foundation expert advised the young miss not to speak recklessly. Therefore, this young girl was most likely a young lady from the regional king's mansion. However, it was the regional king who had personally issued the order to arrest Qin Wentian. After taking a sip of tea, Qin Wentian smiled at the man beside him and asked, "Brother, where did you get the arrest warrant from?" Next to him was a middle-aged man in a blue robe with an elegant temperament. Hearing Qin Wentian's question, he couldn't help but smile and say, "Of course it's from Yunlu." Yunlu? Qin Wentian had heard this name from the woman's conversation. "Don't tell me you don't even know about Yunlu?" The blue-robed middle-aged man stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. After which, he smiled. "In the Cloud Prefecture, there's a Yunlu in every city of the Cloud Prefecture. They are the sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Yunlu sage sect. Through the Yunlu, the orders of the Yunlu sage sect can be transmitted to the entire Cloud Prefecture in the shortest amount of time. At the same time, there are a total of 81 countries in the Cloud Prefecture, and each country would have disciples from the Yunlu sage sect stationed there. They have a close relationship with the Zhongling king, and if the Zhongling king has any orders, the most effective method would be through the Yunlu sage sect. The arrest warrant has always been issued from the Yunlu. For those who are wanted by the Yunlu sage sect, it's very difficult for them to find a place to hide. The blue-robed middle-aged man smiled as he explained. Qin Wentian nodded. From this, it seems like the Yunlu sage sect should be a transcendent power in the Cloud Prefecture, possessing a terrifying authority to speak. Since the Yunlu sage sect was able to have such power and was located in the Eastern Sage 13 prefectures, it most probably had a deep connection with the Dongshang Heaven Emperor. Many thanks, brother, for informing me. Qin Wentian smiled and clasped his hands. Just a small matter. Everyone in the Driftsnow city knows about this. The blue-robed middle-aged man casually waved his hands and continued sipping on his tea. Qin Wentian sat in the tea house for a moment before he stood up and departed. He directly soared into the air, speeding through the airspace of the Driftsnow city. Qin Wentian increased his speed and sped through the airspace of the Driftsnow city. He encountered even more experts, truly hidden dragons and crouching tigers. For Immortal Foundation characters, Qin Wentian had already seen hundreds of them, all of them shimmering with resplendent immortal light. Just by walking on the streets, one would be able to recognize them with a single glance. After a long time, Qin Wentian saw a vast public square before him. There were many experts gathered there, all of them surrounding an incomparably resplendent ancient bell. This ancient bell was over 1,000 zhang in height and was incomparably terrifying. Bell chimes lingered in the air as runic light filled the sky, illuminating the entire world. On the vast earth, there were many runic lights shooting down. Tens of thousands of runic inscriptions landed on the ground, exuding a profound and unfathomable aura. Is this a divine weapon? Qin Wentian's heart trembled as he felt shock in his heart. This was the first time he saw such a gigantic divine weapon. It was even larger than the demon sword and was so resplendent. As for the many figures surrounding the ancient bell, they were all walking on the ground, as though they were seeking a connection with the ancient bell. Through the resplendent runic inscriptions, they were able to form a connection with the ancient bell. However, nobody had succeeded yet. Not far away, numerous figures surrounded by immortal light stood in the air, observing everything. Among them there were experts from the Jiang clan, as well as experts from the War Immortal Palace. Naturally, there were also major powers from the Driftsnow city, as well as the Zhongling country. All of them seemed to be extremely interested in this ancient bell. This ancient bell is extremely mysterious. If I want to form a connection with it, I'm afraid I have to link these runic inscriptions together, causing the ancient bell to ring. Qin Wentian mused. After which, he stepped out and an instant later, stood below the ancient bell. Inclining his head, he stared at the incomparably gigantic ancient bell in the air, feeling that it was incomparably mysterious. Each and every runic inscription has its own unique pattern. These intersecting runic inscriptions can form a mystical runic formation, causing the bell to resonate. Qin Wentian had spent a period of time comprehending the Heavenly Talisman treasured tome in the Heavenly Talisman Palace. During that period of time, his comprehension of runic inscriptions improved immensely, only to see that at this moment, a person beside Qin Wentian heard Qin Wentian's voice. He turned his head and glanced at Qin Wentian as a look of disdain flashed in his eyes. You understand runic inscriptions? Qin Wentian stared at the other party. This young man exuded an extraordinary aura. His forehead was plump and his long hair draped over his shoulders. His eyes gleamed with a golden light, exuding a sense of sharpness. His eyes seemed to contain a powerful penetrative power, and when he stared at Qin Wentian, a faint sense of pressure could be felt. I know a little, Qin Wentian replied. However, a mocking smile appeared on the lips of the young man, as though he was mocking Qin Wentian for boasting shamelessly. The Tao of runic inscriptions is the true great Tao. Runic inscriptions represent the laws of the heavens and earth. If I'm not wrong, your cultivation base should only be at the third level of celestial phenomenon. You actually dare to say that you know a little about it? The young man calmly spoke. He was originally a disciple of one of the major powers of the Jiangling country, the Purple Flame sect. The Purple Flame sect was proficient in fire and weaponsmithing. Their disciples all had extremely high attainments in weaponsmithing. He isn't the only one who dares to boast shamelessly. Among the people here, there are many who don't even know what runic inscriptions are. Yet, aren't all of them speaking with fervor and assurance? Beside the young man, there was a young woman around the age of 25 or 26. Her eyes were long and narrow, exuding an unkind intent. Her mouth was very sharp, and although she looked pretty good, it didn't look harmonious at all. Haha, you guys should be from the Purple Flame sect, right? The 9 ancient bells of the Driftsnow city all contain a marvelous energy within. Only an extremely rare few can sound them. The fame of the Purple Flame sect has already spread far and wide in the Jiangling country. There aren't many who can match up to them in terms of weaponsmithing. Today, I truly want to see if you guys can make this ancient bell chime. Someone at the side laughed uproariously. The 2 experts from the Purple Flame sect glanced over as they spoke. Disciples from the 9 Cold Peak of the Driftsnow city. You guys have resided in the Driftsnow city for a long period of time and should be very familiar with this ancient bell, right? Are you able to sound it? The ancient bell has a spirit. Its transformations are unfathomable. The runic inscriptions on it are constantly changing. How could there be any pattern to it? No matter how familiar you are with it, it's still the same. It still depends on your attainments. The disciple from the 9 Cold Peak emotionlessly replied. I've long wanted to see the 9 immortality bell for myself. Today is a good chance. At this moment, a group of silhouettes descended from the air, walking to the side of the ancient bell. They were none other than experts from the Jiang clan. 9 immortality bell, don't ask immortals. Another voice drifted over. Not far away, a group of experts stood beside the experts from the Jiang clan. They were none other than experts from the Jiangling King Manor. One of them spoke. I'm sure everyone has long heard of the rumors regarding the 9 immortality bell. Now that the immortal spirit has manifested, this is an opportunity that only appears once every 1,000 years. Chapter 767. The Driftsnow city had always been an extremely mysterious city. Its strength originated from a very long time ago. Once, the Driftsnow city was constructed by a supreme existence. He transformed the entire city into a divine weapon. And this city itself was a supremely powerful divine weapon that possessed unfathomable might. In fact, there were even rumors that the Driftsnow city had a weapon spirit. After that, after the master of the Driftsnow city died, the Driftsnow city gradually fell into silence. Until many years later, the weapon spirit would only manifest itself occasionally. Most of the time it remained silent. But every time it manifested, it would be the period when the Driftsnow city summoned its master. The 9 immortality bells were the protectors of the Driftsnow city. From ancient times until now, they had always been located within the Driftsnow city and had an incomparably long history. Every time the weapon spirit manifested itself, it would be a sign of the 9 immortality bells appearing. The 9 immortality bells were originally 9 divine weapons. There were also people who said that it was a complete divine weapon that was divided into 9 parts, becoming a type of test for the Driftsnow city. As long as one could communicate with the 9 immortality bells, they would have a chance to unravel the secrets of the Driftsnow city. Hence, every time the 9 immortality bells of the Driftsnow city appeared, experts from all over the Cloud Prefecture would gather here. This was especially so for those powerful weaponsmiths. It was said that only weaponsmiths could truly communicate with the 9 immortality bells and obtain its recognition. But even after countless years, no one had truly unraveled the secrets of the Driftsnow city. However, the crowd had never given up. They continued to try, and in the process of every attempt, there would always be someone who gained a deep comprehension when communicating with the 9 immortality bells, becoming a Grandmaster level character. The 9 immortality bells, don't ask immortals. The 9 immortality bells wouldn't react to Immortal Foundation experts. Only those below the Immortal Foundation realm would have a chance to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. Naturally, a long time ago, there was another line behind this sentence. It was the 9 immortality bells, the path of immortal ascension, becoming an immortal in a single step. No one knew the exact meaning of this line. Nobody had ever unraveled the secrets of the 9 immortality bells before. Hence, no one knew the exact meaning behind this line. But generation after generation, all of them worked hard. More and more people gathered here. Other than the experts from the Jiang clan, the Purple Flame sect, 9 Cold Peak and other major powers, there were even experts from the other major powers of the Cloud Prefecture. As for the people of the Driftsnow city, they were all paying close attention to the 9 immortality bells. Countless people gathered in this area. Their gazes never once left the bells. It's said that every time the 9 immortality bells manifested, there would always be geniuses who were able to communicate with the bells, gaining a deep level of comprehension and undergoing a transformation. It was unknown which outstanding characters would appear this time around. That man is Zhang Yan from the Jiang clan, a genius weaponsmith of the younger generation. Not only that, his combat prowess is also extremely high. Right now, he's only in his 50s and has already broken through to the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. He's one of the elites among the younger generations of the Jiang clan, with outstanding talent. This time around, among those from the Jiang clan, Zhang Yan is one of them. From afar, there was someone who paid close attention to the situation here. This Zhang Yan is from the Jiang clan, a weaponsmithing genius of the younger generation. Not only that, his combat prowess is also extremely high. He's only in his 50s, but his cultivation base is already at the 8th level of celestial phenomenon. He's one of the elites among the younger generation of the Jiang clan with outstanding talent. This Zhang Yan is so powerful. Not long after he stepped into the vicinity of the 9 immortality bells, runic light started to revolve around him. He seems to be forming a connection with several runic inscriptions, wanting to form a resonance with the 9 immortality bells. The eyes of the spectators flickered as they stared at Zhang Yan. Other than Zhang Yan, the disciples from the 9 Frost Peak and the Purple Flame sect were all attempting as well. This included the young man from the Purple Flame sect, and the unkind young woman who looked at Qin Wentian with disdain. Qin Wentian didn't bother about the disdain of the other party. He stood below the ancient bell, basking in the boundless runic light as he quietly comprehended. To him, each and every rune wasn't something hard to decipher. The difficult part was how to use these runes to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. Most probably, he wouldn't be able to do it if he simply tried to decipher them. Runes are the source of energy, able to draw upon the law energy of heaven and earth. As long as I can find the law energy of these runes, I would be able to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. Qin Wentian silently mused. He actually walked to the side of the 9 immortality bells and sat down, closing his eyes as he quietly contemplated. In the surroundings, boundless runic light flashed, boundless like the sea, unfathomably deep. It was as though he had no idea where to start. And just like that, he sat there for several days. The 9 immortality bells had existed for countless years in the Driftsnow city, and there had never been anyone who could unravel the profoundness within. How could it be so easy to communicate with one of the ancient bells? During these few days, the number of experts gathering around the 9 immortality bells grew more and more. The number of geniuses attempting to communicate with the 9 immortality bells also increased. With a single glance, there were already tens of thousands of people. However, in the face of this terrifying ancient bell, even 10 million people didn't seem like a lot. Back then in the tea house Qin Wentian met, the young miss had also arrived. She stood at the side, her beautiful eyes flickering as her gaze landed on a young man slightly older than her. Crown Prince's attainments in the Tao of Divine Inscriptions are extremely high. I wonder if there's a chance for him to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. An Immortal Foundation expert beside her spoke as he stared at the young man. So it turned out that this young man was none other than the Crown Prince of the Zhongling King Manor, Pei Xiao. As for this young miss, she was none other than a daughter of the Zhongling King Manor, named Pei Yu. The two of them were cousins, with Pei Xiao being slightly older. He should be able to do it, but I don't know to what extent. Pei Yu spoke in a low voice. And at this moment, the countless runes ahead converged into a river of runic light, slamming into the gigantic 9 immortality bells. A moment later, a light chime rang out from the 9 immortality bells, but there wasn't much of a reaction. It's Zhang Yan, as expected of someone from the Jiang clan. He managed to cause the 9 immortality bells to chime so quickly. He should have a chance to communicate with it. Direct attack? Qin Wentian mumbled. With an intention of his will, numerous runic lights flickered, but they seemed to be hidden within the boundless runic light. They didn't take form, but they continued squirming unceasingly, containing a tyrannical might within. However, when this surge of energy neared the 9 immortality bells, it halted. With an intention of his will, all the fluctuations dissipated into nothingness. If it's just an attack, I can easily use multiple types of energy to attack the 9 immortality bells. But if it's just an attack, it's basically impossible for it to shake the 9 immortality bells. Could it be that I only need to cause the 9 immortality bells to chime, and from there find a connection point? Qin Wentian mused silently. His eyes were still closed as the boundless runic light cascaded downwards, enveloping his entire body. These runic lights seemed to be a part of the 9 immortality bells. There should be a type of law energy that can allow humans and divine inscriptions to resonate. Qin Wentian silently mused. Runic inscriptions were able to activate law energy. What he needed to do was to find out where this type of energy came from. However, this seemed to be extremely difficult. For the next few days, more and more experts tried to cause the 9 immortality bell to chime. However, they still chose to stay and didn't leave, continuing to attempt. Right now, they could only sense a faint trace of the 9 immortality bell's immortal spirit. The Crown Prince has succeeded. Although he has no way to completely communicate with the 9 immortality bells, as long as he can cause the bell to resonate with him, the 9 immortality bells would pay attention to him. As long as the Crown Prince can forge a powerful divine weapon, he would still have a chance to gain the recognition of the 9 immortality bells. Many experts from the King Manor gathered together as they discussed the current situation. At this moment, a tyrannical energy frenziedly squirmed, transforming into a ferocious beast that coiled around the 9 immortality bells. After which rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly, exuding a majestic aura. Awesome, as expected of a genius of the Jiang clan. An expert from the King Manor praised as he stared at the experts from the Jiang clan. Jiang Yan was truly very powerful. He was at the forefront of the 10 million participants. If there was someone who could communicate with the 9 immortality bells, that person would definitely be him, Jiang Yan. Boom! Another series of chimes rang out. However, the commotion caused by this chime was much smaller compared to Jiang Yan. However, it still caused the disciple from the Purple Flame sect who had disdain for Qin Wentian to have a complacent expression on his face. He could sense a pair of formless eyes staring at him. That must be the immortal spirit of the 9 immortality bells. I still need to work harder. That person clenched his fists tightly, feeling somewhat agitated as he continued his attempts. His gaze inadvertently glanced at Qin Wentian, who was sitting not far away from him. This fellow was truly too senseless, sitting there from the start. What a waste of time. Boom boom boom. At this moment, an incomparably loud chime reverberated through the heavens and earth. In the air, the reverberations of the chimes rang out unceasingly, ringing into the ears of the crowd. Not here. The gazes of the crowd abruptly froze as they stared into the horizons. There were a total of 9 immortality bells, and the one here was only one of them. Not only were there experts attempting to communicate with the 9 immortality bells, there were also geniuses from other locations attempting to do so as well. Boom boom. The chimes continued reverberating through the air. After which a voice boomed out, "Haha, Jiang Yan, seems like you can't do it. It's been so long, but I can't hear any sounds coming from your side." This voice penetrated through the clouds, containing an intense provocation within. Jiang Yan inclined his head, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. Who is it? He actually dares to provoke the genius of the Jiang clan, Jiang Yan? A puzzled expression appeared on the faces of those in the crowd. Sharon. Jiang Yan's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he spoke, his words causing the hearts of many to tremble. This was especially so for those from the Jiang King Manor. Their countenances all turned sharp. Sharon was an extremely legendary young genius. In the world of weaponsmithing, he could be considered a legendary character of the younger generation and was extremely powerful. He came from another supreme sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, the Wondergate Immortal Manor. This power had nurtured many outstanding divine inscriptionists, slowly eroding the influence and status of the Jiang clan in the Cloud Prefecture. Chapter 768. There were countless geniuses in the Wondergate Immortal Manor. The number of geniuses who chose to join them was much higher compared to those who chose to join the Jiang clan. After all, the surname of the Jiang clan was Jiang, and it was something passed down from generation to generation. But the Wondergate Immortal Manor was different. As long as you joined the Wondergate Immortal Manor, as long as your talent was high enough, you would have the chance to receive the best nurturing. But in the Jiang clan, you would never have as many resources as those with the surname Jiang. Hence, the rise of the Wondergate Immortal Manor was extremely quick. The Jiang clan, this so-called sacred ground for weaponsmithing, was already on the verge of collapse. The two powers fought openly and covertly, especially for the younger generations. They would always provoke each other when they met. Naturally, not only for the Wondergate Immortal Manor and the Jiang clan. In the Cloud Prefecture, the other major powers would also fight against each other. In the immortal realms where the wind of cultivation was extremely strong, this was an extremely normal thing. Only through competition would one be able to grow stronger and stronger. Jiang Yan's countenance turned incredibly unsightly when he heard Sharon's provocative words. After all, Sharon did indeed make the 9 immortality bells chime louder. His countenance turned solemn as he spoke in a low voice. Sharon, it's still too early to say such words. In the end, it's still uncertain who would be the one to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. His voice rang out through the air, reverberating through the air. Everyone within a radius of a few hundred miles could hear it clearly, causing the hearts of many to tremble. Did the people of the Jiang clan and Sharon of the Wondergate Immortal Manor really start to fight? Haha, Jiang Yan, stop lying to yourself. If I can't communicate with the 9 immortality bells and cause its spirit to manifest, ascending to immortality in a single step, it's even more impossible for you to do so. You are already one step behind me. This one step is too far for you to cross. Sharon's voice rang out once more, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Jiang Yan coldly spoke, arrogant. It's rumored that in order to communicate with the 9 immortality bells, one's weaponsmithing skill is still required. At that time, I want to see how you can compare to me. Boasting shamelessly. Why don't you let the 9 immortality bells chime out in all directions first before you talk about weaponsmithing? If not, the 9 immortality bells wouldn't recognize you. Sharon laughed maniacally. After that, his voice gradually faded, leaving behind Jiang Yan, who had an unsightly expression on his face. Both of you are dragons and phoenixes among men, heavenly geniuses of a generation. When the battle begins, the weather will definitely change, and it will be extremely brilliant. At this moment in the air, several silhouettes could be seen standing there. Many people inclined their heads only to see a middle-aged man standing at the very front. He had a smile on his face as he spoke. A few days later, I, Pei Tianyuan of my Jiangling country, will be the host. How about it? I, Ji Kong, will be with the Duke. I hope that all the heavens chosen will honor me with your presence. A person at the side laughed, his words causing the hearts of many in the Driftsnow city to tremble. Was that middle-aged man standing in the air the Jiangling king of the Driftsnow country? He has also come to the Driftsnow city? However, this was only normal. The 9 immortality bells of the Driftsnow city had manifested, attracting many geniuses from the various sacred grounds of the Cloud Prefecture. Although Pei Tianyuan was the Jiangling king of the Jiangling country, in the perspective of the Cloud Prefecture, he had no way to compare to the backing of these geniuses. However, Pei Tianyuan wouldn't go so far as to flatter them. After all, as the Jiangling king of one of the 81 countries of the Cloud Prefecture, Pei Tianyuan himself naturally had some background. It was just that no one knew which subordinate of the Dongsheng Heaven Emperor he was. As for this Ji Kong, he was also an extraordinary character. He was a disciple of the Cloud Tower Sage sect, a sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, and had an extremely deep background. He was in charge of all the cloud towers in the Jiangling country. Since it's an invitation from the two of you, I, Jiang Yan, will naturally attend. Jiang Yan spoke. Earlier, the Jiangling king Pei Tianyuan and Ji Kong issued a warrant for Qin Wentian's arrest. Since the Cloud Tower issued the warrant, it could be considered that he owed them a favor. In addition to the fact that the Jiangling king had an extremely deep background, he naturally wouldn't reject. Since the Jiangling king and Tower Lord Ji have invited us, how can we reject? Sharon from the Wondergate Immortal Manor also spoke in a heroic manner, agreeing to attend the banquet. For those who wish to attend, feel free to come. I'll set the time and location first. 7 days later, at the Driftsnow Inn, the Jiangling King Pei Tianyuan laughed, his words causing many to agree. However, for those with weaker talent and no background, they didn't say anything. They knew that although Pei Tianyuan's words were polite, they had to know their own limits. Talent or background, you have to have at least one of them before others would be willing to welcome you. If not, what qualifications do you have to sit together with others? If that's the case, you would only attract disdainful gazes from others because you weren't on the same level as them. Thank you everyone for honoring me with your presence. Pei Tianyuan smiled and nodded when he heard many people agreeing. He then turned his gaze downwards, glancing at Pei Xiao. Pei Xiao. Pei Tianyuan called out. Jiangling King. Pei Xiao respectfully greeted. Learn more from the geniuses here. Pei Tianyuan emotionlessly spoke. Pei Xiao nodded. Pei Xiao understands. MHM. Pei Tianyuan nodded. He then glanced at the little miss of the Jiangling King Manor. Pei Yu as he spoke. Don't loiter around outside every day, return earlier. Yes. Pei Yu bowed to Pei Tianyuan. She and Pei Xiao were both juniors of Pei Tianyuan. As the Jiangling King of the Jiangling country, Pei Tianyuan supported the entire Jiangling King Manor and had a transcendent status. Although Pei Yu didn't dare to agree with Pei Tianyuan's way of doing things, when she questioned the arrest warrant for Qin Wentian, the Immortal Foundation expert beside her immediately stopped her. After all, to the people of the Pei clan, Pei Tianyuan was a lofty existence, unquestionable. Pei Tianyuan nodded. After which, he and Ji Kong sped away, vanishing from sight in an instant. Qin Wentian had no way to see how they left. He could only say that the strength of the Jiangling King Pei Tianyuan was something he couldn't imagine. Most probably, Pei Tianyuan was a character with multiple layers of Immortal Foundation. After Pei Tianyuan left, everyone continued to bathe in the boundless runic light, as they attempted to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. Regardless of participants or spectators, the number of spectators grew more and more. The news of what happened in the Driftsnow city circulated out, causing many experts of the Cloud Prefecture to head over to spectate. The number of people gathered in the Driftsnow city grew more and more. Experts were as common as the clouds, crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Even in the surroundings of the 9 immortality bells, there weren't enough seats left. Because there were too many people, it was extremely crowded. Many people came here purely to join in the fun. What a waste of time. Below the 9 immortality bells, a young woman with a cold and arrogant demeanor could be seen. Her eyes swept over the people in the surroundings, causing many to involuntarily retreat a few steps. The vast majority of people are only here to play, let alone making the 9 immortality bells ring. Most probably they don't even have the ability to inscribe low-level divine inscriptions. A young man at the side laughed. They were also from outside the Cloud Prefecture, and weren't from the Jiangling country. They were from a major power in the Cloud Prefecture, the Seven Sword Sect. The people of the Seven Sword Sect were proficient in sword-type astral souls. The majority of them had sword-type astral souls and were extremely powerful. The young man and woman who spoke both had ancient swords strapped on their backs. The sword hilts were inscribed with a unique diagram of 7 swords. As long as one was experienced and knowledgeable, they would be able to identify them with a single glance. The disciples of the Purple Flame sect naturally knew what was good and bad. The young man from the Purple Flame sect who insulted Qin Wentian earlier walked over and politely asked, "Are the 2 of you disciples of the Seven Sword sect? Who are you?" The young woman glanced at him as she emotionlessly asked, "I'm Xianzhu from the Purple Flame sect. It's my honor to be able to meet a genius from the Seven Sword sect." That young man respectfully replied. One of his junior apprentice sisters also walked over. Not long ago she was still extremely arrogant, but now she was extremely polite. Seems like there are many elites among those who came to the Driftsnow city. Even the geniuses from the Seven Sword sect are here. The countenance of the arrogant young woman from the Seven Sword sect was as cold as ever. She calmly replied, "The Purple Flame sect should be a weaponsmithing power, right? This place is so noisy and there's almost no space left. Do you guys still have the peace of mind to comprehend and communicate with the 9 immortality bells? It's true, but no matter where we go, there would always be people who think they're infallible and come here to join in the fun. For example, that young man over there. When I first saw him, he was already sitting there. Now that a few days have passed, he's still the same, acting as though he can really communicate with the 9 immortality bells. How shameless! Xianzhu pointed to Qin Wentian in the crowd as he spoke. Qin Wentian had always been in a state of silence, isolated from the outside world. He was quietly communicating with the 9 immortality bells, trying to comprehend his own laws. However, in the eyes of others, this wasn't the case at all. In that case, why don't you drive some of them away? The arrogant young woman coldly spoke, her words causing Xianzhu to freeze. After which, he only saw a few experts from the 7 Sword sect unleashing boundless sword might as they coldly snorted. Those who can't communicate with the 9 immortality bells, leave this place immediately. If not, don't blame us for being merciless. As the sound of his voice faded, sword chi gushed forth in the air. The terrifying sword might instantly stun many people. Many people stared at them as someone spoke in a low voice. It's the disciples of the 7 Sword sect. The 7 Sword sect is an extremely tyrannical power in the Cloud Prefecture. Many people discussed. After which, many people started to leave. Although they felt depressed in their hearts, there was nothing they could do. This was strength. The strength of the other party was there for all to see. What else could they do? Even if they were expelled, they could only leave. The people from the 7 Sword sect were extremely arrogant. Everywhere their swords passed by, the threat they posed was immense. What are you guys still standing there for? Do you want to leave as well? The icily arrogant young woman glanced at Xianzhu from the Purple Flame sect. Xianzhu nodded his head as he spoke. For those who don't have the ability to communicate with the 9 immortality bells, just leave this place. After speaking, his gaze swept over the crowd only to see that Qin Wentian was still sitting cross-legged there. His eyes involuntarily flickered with coldness as he walked towards Qin Wentian. A violent aura gushed forth as he ferociously gushed forth. Right now, Qin Wentian was at the most crucial moment. He could faintly sense the source of that formless law energy. Tens of thousands of formless runic lights were flowing about, and if there were any supreme experts here, they would discover that at this moment, the runic lights in this space seemed to be flowing in a mystical rhythm, revolving around the 9 immortality bell. Chapter 769. Qin Wentian had no distractions in his heart. Even when Xianzhu's tyrannical aura pressed down on him, Qin Wentian didn't sense it at all. In his consciousness, the boundless runic light coalesced into a single entity, circulating around the 9 immortality bell. A terrifying bell chime rang out, causing his body to tremble violently. His consciousness seemed to have entered the 9 immortality bell, and he saw a blurry space. Faintly, a pair of eyes could be seen staring at him. At the same time, Qin Wentian also felt a mysterious energy. It felt like at this moment, he could easily cause the 9 immortality bell to chime with just a single thought. However, from Xianzhu's perspective, Qin Wentian's body was trembling because of the pressure he exuded. At this moment, the number of people in this space decreased unceasingly. Those who were in the surroundings of the 9 immortality bell were chased away by those from the 7 Sword sect. However, for those truly powerful characters, they still didn't leave. Those from the 7 Sword sect were also intimidating them. In such a situation, when Xianzhu saw that Qin Wentian was still quietly sitting there, a cold killing intent flickered in his eyes. Not knowing the immensity of death, Xianzhu coldly spoke. Those from the 7 Sword sect also came to join in the fun? At this moment, a voice rang out, drifting over together with the chimes of the bell. It was none other than Sharon's voice. It was as though nothing here could escape the eyes of Sharon, who was in another dimension. Sharon. The icily arrogant female from the 7 Sword sect inclined her head and stared at the air as her expression turned heavy. She was no longer as arrogant as before. Evidently, Sharon was a character she couldn't ignore. In fact, she had to treat him with great importance. Jiang Yan was already a heaven chosen of the Jiang clan. But Sharon and Jiang Yan were communicating with the 9 immortality bell together. Being able to gain an advantage against Jiang Yan, one could tell how extraordinary Sharon was. Among the younger generations of the Cloud Prefecture, Sharon was quite famous. Sharon snorted coldly. Xianzhu paused for a moment before he continued walking towards Qin Wentian. A powerful aura gushed forth from him as he coldly spoke. You still haven't scrammed? You truly don't know the immensity of death. As soon as he finished speaking, his palm slashed towards Qin Wentian's body. In the surroundings, the sword chi was still laughing maniacally. The experts of the Seven Sword sect were still expelling the others. At this time, Qin Wentian frowned slightly, seemingly showing a touch of displeasure. His eyelashes trembled. Abruptly, Qin Wentian's eyes opened. At this instant, Xianzhu stared into Qin Wentian's eyes as his mind shuddered violently. The sound of a bell chime rang out in his mind, akin to the melody of the great Tao. Boom boom. The terrifying bell chimes rang out unceasingly. It was as though the 9 immortality bell had truly awakened, emitting a sound that truly belonged to it. At this moment, in this vast space, the experts in the surroundings of the 9 immortality bell all felt their hearts pounding violently. The chimes of the bell seemed to contain a soul-shaking might, directly resonating in the depths of their hearts, resonating in their souls. Even the Immortal Foundation experts who were spectating from afar had their eyes gleaming with sharpness as their hearts pounded. Was this the manifestation of the 9 immortality bell? Xianzhu was the one who suffered the greatest impact. He coughed out a mouthful of blood as his internal organs trembled violently. The bell chime seemed to be able to penetrate his body, penetrating his soul. He only felt that his brain was about to explode as he directly slumped to the ground. His entire body convulsed as fresh blood flowed unceasingly from the corners of his mouth, dyeing the ground red. The aftershock of the bell chimes finally subsided. The light in Qin Wentian's eyes returned to its usual calmness. He casually stood up, but he didn't look at the collapsed Xianzhu. Instead, he was staring at the 9 immortality bell as a strange light flickered in his eyes. What secret was hidden within the 9 immortality bell exactly? Xianzhu. At this moment, the female from the Purple Flame sect exclaimed in shock upon noticing Xianzhu's condition. She walked to his side, only to see that Xianzhu was still trembling uncontrollably. Xianzhu, what happened to you? The countenance of the female paled. She didn't dare to believe the scene before her eyes. Earlier when the bell chimes rang out, she indeed felt a deep sense of shock. However, it wasn't to the extent where she felt the same way as Xianzhu. She swiftly swept her gaze over the surroundings and discovered that only Xianzhu was in such a state. The others all had solemn expressions on their faces as they stared at the 9 immortality bell. Even Zhang Yan from the Zhang clan, the experts from the Seven Sword sect, as well as Pei Xiao from the Zhangwang manor all had perplexed looks on their faces. They didn't know where the bell chimes came from. Not good. When the female's hand came into contact with Xianzhu's body, her countenance instantly turned pale. She discovered that Xianzhu's heart meridians had actually been shattered. And indeed, an instant later, Xianzhu's body stopped trembling as he stopped breathing. His eyes were still wide open, as though he had died with a grievance. Even until his death, he didn't know how he died. Was it because of that gaze or because of the bell chimes? It's impossible for the 9 immortality bell to chime by itself. In this silent space, a voice suddenly rang out. Momentarily, the gazes of everyone were attracted over. The person who spoke was none other than Zhang Yan. You mean that earlier someone communicated with the 9 immortality bell and activated it? The eyes of the icily arrogant female from the Seven Sword sect shot out numerous sharp swords. Her heart pounded violently. The disciples of the Seven Sword sect had naturally heard of the 9 immortality bell before. If there was someone who could activate the 9 immortality bell, that person must have already succeeded in communicating with the immortal spirit within the bell. If that was the case, there would be a chance for them to unravel the secrets of the 9 immortality bell. Yeah, since the 9 immortality bell chimed, the person who communicated with it should be among us. Zhang Yan nodded. His eyes stared at the people in this vast space as his sharp gaze swept past each and every one of them. However, he truly had no way to imagine what sort of person would be able to achieve such a feat. He was a heaven chosen of the Zhang clan, Zhang Yan. Even he couldn't do it. Who else here could? Other than him, there seemed to be no one more famous than him here. Those from the Seven Sword sect were also very powerful, But in terms of their attainments in the martial path, the disparity between them was too great. Hence, even after Zhang Yan's gaze swept past everyone, he still had no idea who it was. Also, earlier the 9 immortality bell chimed abruptly. There were no signs at all. Which heaven chosen is it exactly? Are you all willing to step out? Zhang Yan asked. However, no one replied. He had no idea who it was. Zhang Yan, maybe it's really just an accident and the 9 immortality bell has automatically awakened. If not, there wouldn't be anyone here who managed to chime the bell a step earlier than you. Pei Xiao spoke, his tone filled with hints of flattery. Zhang Yan didn't reply, but a look of contemplation could be seen in his eyes. Could it really be that the 9 immortality bell had automatically awakened? In truth, he felt that given his current attainments, even if he was given more time, he wouldn't be able to cause the 9 immortality bell to completely resonate with it in an instant. He couldn't do it. Sharon from the Wondergate Immortal Manor also couldn't do it. Could there be others here who could do it? Could it be that his guess was wrong? Was it only the immortal essence of the 9 immortality bell? In the air, whistling sounds rang out. At the side of the 9 immortality bell, a silhouette appeared. This person was extremely young and exuded a carefree aura. His gaze was sharp as he swept his gaze over everyone below. Sharon! Zhang Yan called out, causing everyone to instantly understand that this young man was none other than Sharon, a heaven chosen from the Wondergate Immortal Manor. Earlier, the one who sounded the bell chimes was none other than this young man. To think that Sharon is so handsome. The serving girl beside Pei Yu spoke in a low voice, her eyes flashing with astonishment. She initially thought that Sharon was a middle-aged man. She didn't expect him to be such a carefree character. However, right now, Sharon didn't have the mood to care about what the others were thinking. Earlier when the 9 immortality bell chimed, it didn't only resonate here. It even caused the other 8 bells to resonate with it. Sharon had already formed a connection with one of the bells, hence he could sense it even more deeply. In that instant earlier, it was as though he saw a pair of incomparably lofty eyes that contained a world-shaking brilliance. He was different from Zhang Yan. Sharon could be sure that earlier, someone must have communicated with the 9 immortality bell and that person must be among these people. In the air, more and more experts appeared. Among them, there was no lack of geniuses from the major powers. All of them were attracted here by the bell chimes. Such resonance wasn't something ordinary people could achieve. Qin Wentian inclined his head, glancing at the silhouettes that appeared. And at this moment he saw Sharon's eyes. The instant Sharon's gaze landed on him, he didn't shift his gaze away. He stared fixedly at Qin Wentian, as though wanting to see through him. At this moment, the sharpness in Qin Wentian's countenance was retracted, and his demeanor was extremely ordinary. However, Sharon still felt a sense of familiarity. Faintly, he felt that the supreme brilliance he saw earlier originated from this pair of eyes. Is it him? Sharon couldn't be sure. At this moment, Qin Wentian lowered his head and directly shifted his gaze away, as though nothing had happened. This caused Sharon to feel bewildered in his heart, as the bewilderment in his heart grew even more intense. And at this moment, he saw the corpse lying not far away from Qin Wentian. It was Xianzhu's corpse. His eyes flashed with sharpness. Chapter 770. Although Sharon's eyes gleamed with sharpness, he didn't say anything. He stared at the female beside Xianzhu's corpse, and upon seeing her staring at Qin Wentian with hatred, he already had a guess in his heart. Did you do something to Xianzhu? That female coldly asked as she stared at Qin Wentian. If it was really just the bell chimes, it was impossible for Xianzhu to die directly. Everyone here had heard the reverberations of the bell chimes, and although their internal organs were shaken, it wasn't to the extent of their heart meridians being destroyed. Qin Wentian slowly turned his gaze over, staring at that female as a cold light flashed in his eyes. You guys are so brazen, wanting to expel others and even wanted to attack me. Yet he was suddenly killed by the sound of the bell chimes. What does this have to do with me? The female bit her lips, she didn't know what to say. Earlier, it was indeed Xianzhu who acted against Qin Wentian. But when the bell chimes rang out, Xianzhu was instantly killed. Qin Wentian basically didn't move at all. There weren't any fluctuations of aura from him. This was definitely real. A bunch of people are wasting space here, can't we expel them? At this moment, the cold and arrogant female from the Seven Sword sect stared at Qin Wentian. Earlier, she was the one who gave the order to expel them, yet this young man actually dared to doubt her words? How impudent! We are wasting space? A cold smile of disdain appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Hearing your words, those who don't know might really think that you are capable of causing the bell chimes. How laughable! After speaking, Qin Wentian no longer glanced at the icily arrogant young woman from the Seven Sword sect. As the sound of his voice faded, that young woman took a step forward as sword qi gushed forth like a raging tempest, extremely terrifying to the extreme. It felt as though the sword qi alone could tear people apart, shredding them into 1,000 pieces. Qin Wentian naturally could feel the immense pressure from the sword qi. His opponent's cultivation base was at the 7th level of celestial phenomenon, and could already be considered an extremely powerful character. Nyan! At this moment Sharon, who was in the air, spoke. His eyes stared at the icily arrogant female from the Seven Sword sect. Evidently, he knew of her existence as well. This Nyan was also an extremely famous character in the Seven Sword sect. They were both geniuses of the younger generation of the Cloud Prefecture, and although they were separated by a great distance, they knew of each other. Nyan inclined her head, staring at Sharon. The others aren't wrong. Why are you, a sword cultivator, here to join in the fun and say that others are wasting space? Could it be that you can ring the bell? Sharon smiled faintly as he spoke. His eyes glowed with a faint golden light, giving off a unique sense of sharpness. My business has nothing to do with you, Nyan replied in a low voice. Her tone was clearly not as cold and arrogant as when she was talking to Qin Wentian. Although she still maintained her cold demeanor, she had lost some of her previous imposing manner. This was because she was facing a different person. If an immortal king was facing an immortal foundation character, his aura would naturally be high and mighty, unexcelled in the world. But if he was facing an immortal emperor, would he still dare to display any arrogance? Most probably, he would only be filled with respect. Hence, even if it was the same person when facing different people, his aura would still change according to his attitude. It has nothing to do with me. But this place is the Driftsnow city and not the Seven Sword sect. Since everyone from the Cloud Prefecture is here to attempt to communicate with the 9 immortality bells, could it be that you know who is capable of doing so and who isn't? If you can't do it yourself, what qualifications do you have to expel others? Sharon's tone grew stronger and stronger. The aura radiating from his eyes grew even more domineering, truly pressing down on others. Under this aura, the icily arrogant Nyan's aura was clearly much weaker. She had no way to contend against Sharon and could only snort coldly, not saying anything. Sharon stepped out and landed on the ground. Qin Wentian stared at him, and upon seeing that Sharon was also looking at him, a carefree smile appeared on his face. Many thanks. What are you thanking me for? Sharon's eyes flickered with a meaningful smile. Sharon from the Wondergate Immortal Manor. What about you? Tinwan. Qin Wentian smiled as he replied. This place was one of the 3 main cities of the Jiangling country, the Driftsnow city. The Jiangling country has long issued a bounty for his arrest. Once he revealed his real name, he would instantly fall into a dangerous situation. Hence, he could only continue to use an alias. Tianwen. Sharon repeated, as though he regarded this name with great importance. After that, he asked again, Brother Tianwen, which sect are you from? My cultivation base is too low and I've brought shame to my sect. I don't dare to speak nonsense in public. Qin Wentian replied. Understood. Sharon casually smiled. He didn't know what the word understood meant. Sharon, you are truly in the mood for leisure. At this moment, a voice drifted over. The person who spoke was none other than Jiang Yan from the Jiang clan. This Sharon actually came here and started chatting with an unknown character. Truly, he was in the mood for leisure. Haha, who asked me to be ahead of you in terms of comprehension? Also, I'm already strong enough to attract the attention of the 9 immortality bells. Naturally, I'm in the mood for leisure. As for you, the Jiang clan, you are truly getting weaker and weaker. Sharon laughed, his words causing Jiang Yan's countenance to turn cold. He coldly snorted and continued, let's see who will have the last laugh. After speaking, he no longer bothered with Sharon. He closed his eyes and attempted to communicate with the 9 immortality bells again. I also want to see what's so special about this 9 immortality bell that can chime on its own. Sharon sat beside Qin Wentian and similarly closed his eyes, attempting to comprehend the 9 immortality bells. Nian had an unfriendly expression on her face as she glanced at him and Qin Wentian before she left. As for the other experts, they all went on with their own matters. Seems like this was truly an accident. The 9 immortality bells chimed on its own due to some special reason. Qin Wentian faintly sensed that Sharon had seen through something. However, Sharon was extremely carefree. He didn't say anything and just sat at the side, attempting to communicate with the 9 immortality bells. After that, Qin Wentian also closed his eyes as his perception gushed out. He could faintly sense that there was a strange connection between him and the 9 immortality bells. With just a single thought, his perception entered the 9 immortality bells. This towering immortal bell was like a mirror. Through this mirror, Qin Wentian could faintly see a blurry scene. In front of him was a majestic ancient city. There were no living beings in this city, and within this ancient city, divine weapons were all forged. It was as though this boundlessly vast ancient city was created by a weaponsmith and was filled with boundless mysteries. Snowflakes drifted about in the city. Qin Wentian saw a gigantic palm that blotted out the sun stretching out, directly blanketing an entire region. This palm simply stood there, allowing the snowflakes to land on its palm, appearing somewhat lonely. The scene was blurry yet beautiful. Is this the Drift Snow City? Qin Wentian mused. There have always been many legends circulating around the Drift Snow City, and among them, the 9 immortality bells were the most widespread. But as time passed, the people only pursued the secrets of the 9 immortality bells, wanting to grow stronger and ascend to immortality with a single step. As for those ancient stories, they seem to have vanished in the long river of time. There are scenes within the 9 immortality bells. In that case, should I communicate with all 9 bells before I can unravel the complete secret? Qin Wentian mused. Unknowingly, a few days passed. The Jiangling king would be hosting a banquet in the Drift Snow Inn today. Many geniuses gathered in groups of 3 to 5, heading towards the Drift Snow Inn. Sharon opened his eyes and halted his cultivation. He glanced at Qin Wentian beside him as he spoke in a light voice. Brother Tumwan. Qin Wentian opened his eyes and stared at Sharon. Today, the Jiangling king Pei Tianyuan is hosting a banquet. How about you and I go together? Sharon invited Qin Wentian. I won't be going. Qin Wentian shook his head. The Jiangling king had already issued a warrant for his arrest. Why would he go and participate in his banquet? Since I have nothing better to do, I might as well go and take a look at the geniuses of the Jiangling country. In addition, Brother Tianwan, this time around, there are many experts from the major powers of the Cloud Prefecture who came to the Drift Snow City. An example would be my Wondergate Immortal Manor, as well as the Jiang clan of Jiangyan. All of them are considered to be peak powers of the Cloud Prefecture. There's no harm in going to such a banquet. Who knows, you might even be able to make some friends. I can introduce some to you. Sharon persuaded, sounding extremely passionate. Qin Wentian's countenance flickered as he stared at Sharon. Brother Tianwan, the legend of the 9 immortality bells has existed for a very long time. Many years ago, there were many experts who came here wanting to decipher it but to no avail. Although I, Sharon, am extraordinary, I can faintly sense that the secret of the 9 immortality bells would be extremely difficult for me to unravel. However, I do hope to be able to witness someone being able to do so. Sharon stared at Qin Wentian's eyes as a smile appeared on his face. He transmitted his voiceover. If the person who can decipher this legend is a friend of mine, it would naturally be a matter of great honor. Haha. Although Sharon's words were vague, how could Qin Wentian not understand? Sharon should have already confirmed that the reason why the bell chimes rang out that day was because of him, Qin Wentian. Now, he only wanted to make friends with him. Okay, let's go for a walk then. Qin Wentian smiled. After that, he stood up. Upon seeing this scene, Sharon also smiled. Let's go. The Drift Snow Inn is a marvelous sight in the Drift Snow City. Even just looking at it would be a delightful thing. As the two of them spoke, they stepped out at the same time, moving in the direction of the Drift Snow Inn. The Driftsnauen didn't refer to a simple building but rather, it was a cluster of buildings. With a single glance, the white snow drifted about, causing the buildings to be covered in a layer of silver. This cluster of buildings had a flight of stairs leading up to it. Beautiful ancient trees could be seen on both sides, with plum blossoms blooming amidst the drifting snow. It was like a flight of stairs in a snowy country, extremely beautiful. On the stairs there were countless experts walking about, chatting and laughing. All of them were deeply impressed by the beauty of this place. Charon and Qin Wentian also walked up the stairs. Upon seeing this marvelous sight, Qin Wentian sighed. This scenery is countless times more beautiful compared to the paintings. Indeed, the Driftsnauen is built on the snowy mountain range. For those who cultivate in the snow attribute laws, they would often come here to comprehend and cultivate. They would often forget to return home, attracted by the beauty of this place. Charon nodded. I heard that the love story between the Driftsnau Master and Immortal Jade originated from this place. In front of Qin Wentian, a gentle voice rang out, filled with yearning. Yeah, this place is truly beautiful. Little miss, how good would it be if we could stay here for a long time in the future? Seems like females love beautiful scenery even more than us. Charon laughed when he saw this scene. The two in front turned and Qin Wentian nodded to the young miss. This young miss was none other than Peiyu, whom he had met once in the tea house. She was the young miss of the Jiangling King Manor. Chapter 771. Peiyu turned her head and smiled sweetly at Charon and Qin Wentian. She then spoke in a light voice. I naturally like beautiful things. I've long heard of the name Charon from the Wondergate Immortal Manor, but I didn't expect him to be such a carefree character. After speaking, Peiyu turned to Qin Wentian and spoke. I think we met before in the tea house. Qin Wentian nodded. At the same time, Charon replied, the snow is beautiful, the person is beautiful as well. May I ask for young lady's name? Peiyu. The female replied in a light voice. Someone from the Jiangling King Manor? Charon asked. The surname Pei. The first thing he thought of was the Jiangling King Manor. After all, the Driftsnau city originally belonged to the main city of the Jiangling country, and today, the Jiangling King Pei Tianyuan was hosting a banquet. Peiyu replied. Qin Wentian already knew about this and naturally didn't feel strange. This is Brother Tianyuan, we just met not too long ago. Charon introduced Qin Wentian only to see Qin Wentian staring at Peiyu as he curiously asked, earlier Miss Peiyu, you mentioned the Driftsnau Master and Immortal Jade. Who are they? This is the most ancient legend of the Driftsnau city. Let's talk as we walk. Peiyu saw that there were more and more people ascending the staircase. It naturally wouldn't be good for her to remain still. Charon and Qin Wentian walked up as the four of them walked shoulder to shoulder. Peiyu then spoke. This legend has already been gradually forgotten by the masses because the gazes of everyone were only focused on the secret within the 9 immortality bells. Also, I only managed to stumble upon it by chance in the ancient records of the Jiangling King Manor. Hence, I came to the Jiangling country to investigate this story. It's rumored that a very long time ago, there was no such thing as the Driftsnau city. There was only the Driftsnauen, and it was the place where the Driftsnau Master and Immortal Jade fell in love. The two of them were extremely fond of each other and had the same ambition, to become a peak-level weaponsmith grandmaster. Both of them had a crazy obsession towards weaponsmithing and unceasingly pursued higher attainments. Back then, the reason why the Driftsnau Master could woo Immortal Jade was because he defeated her in weaponsmithing. Peiyu's voice was gentle and very pleasant to listen to. This kind of tone seemed to be extremely suitable for narrating ancient legends. After the two of them fell in love, they became companions and sparred with each other. Immortal Jade had always wanted to defeat the Driftsnau Master, but she had never succeeded before. There was once when Immortal Jade asked the Driftsnau Master if he would be willing to give up his life for the sake of forging a perfect divine weapon. The Driftsnau Master shook his head and told Immortal Jade that he would only give up his life for her. However, this romantic reply didn't make Immortal Jade happy, because she was unable to do it herself. In her heart, she discovered that she had placed weapon forging at a supreme position, higher than her own life, higher than the Driftsnau Master. Immortal Jade's heart was filled with unease. One day, she told the Driftsnow master that she wanted to construct an unprecedented divine weapon, one that no one in the immortal realms had ever attempted before. She wanted to forge a city, but the Driftsnow master felt that it was too troublesome. However, Immortal Jade told him that this city would only belong to the two of them, it would be their home. Hence, the Driftsnow master began to roam the immortal realms, collecting materials that ordinary people couldn't even imagine. The Driftsnow master and Immortal Jade started their forging process, attempting to forge an immortal-ranked weapon that no one in the immortal realms had ever attempted before. The two of them spent 10,000 years to gather the materials, and another 1,000 years to forge the immortal-ranked weapon. And just when Immortal Jade was in wild joy, an expert came knocking on their door, asking for the immortal-ranked weapon they forged. The two of them refused and a great battle ensued. In this battle, although they defeated their opponents, both of them were injured. However, what made Immortal Jade unable to accept the most was that the immortal-ranked weapon they forged had no way to unleash its full potential in battle. Immortal Jade was on the brink of collapse. She then asked the Driftsnow master if he was willing to use his life to forge an immortal-ranked weapon. The Driftsnow master's reply was the same as before. He wasn't willing. What he wanted the most was to accompany her. From then on, Immortal Jade no longer cared about the Driftsnow master, and wanted him to leave the Driftsnow city they forged together. The Driftsnow master could only sigh in his heart and leave for a period of time, waiting for Immortal Jade to change her mind. However, this departure was like an eternal farewell. When the Driftsnow master returned to the Driftsnow Inn, he only saw a cold corpse as well as a letter Immortal Jade left for him. If you truly love me, why can't you use your body to forge a weapon? Immortal Jade was like what she said. For the sake of forging a weapon, she was willing to give up her life. She did indeed do so, but the ending was failure and she even gave up her life. Before her death, she left with a grudge against the Driftsnow master. She viewed weaponsmithing as more important than her own life, but the Driftsnow master didn't. After reading that letter, the Driftsnow master's hair turned white overnight. He sat in the Driftsnow Inn for 3 years without moving. 3 years later, he rose and buried Immortal Jade. At the same time, he used his body as a sacrifice to forge a city to bury Immortal Jade. The Driftsnow master used his own flesh and blood to fuse into the Driftsnow city. He used his soul to fuse with the 9 immortality bells, allowing this city to be forged from his own flesh and blood. When he missed Immortal Jade, the bells would chime. He wanted the Driftsnow Inn to be covered in snow all year round, and every single snowflake that fell was his tears. The Driftsnow master completed Immortal Jade's dying wish. He used his own life as a sacrifice to forge a peerless immortal-ranked weapon, an entire city. However, it wasn't because he viewed weaponsmithing as more important than his own life. Rather, it was because he wanted to fulfill the promise he made to Immortal Jade in the past. He would only give up his own life for Immortal Jade. He used his own life to forge a weapon, not for the sake of weapon forging, but for the sake of protecting Immortal Jade's withered body in the Driftsnow city forever. Peiyu's voice drifted along with the snowflakes as she narrated this poignant story. Sharon and Qin Wentian were both in a daze. Was there really such a poignant love story? Using his flesh and blood to fuse with the city to protect Immortal Jade's body. Using his soul to fuse with the bells. When he missed Immortal Jade, the bells would chime. Every single snowflake that fell from the sky was his tears. Is this legend true? Sharon sighed deeply. Their footsteps were very slow, as though they were still immersed in the poignant and beautiful ancient legend. I have no idea as well. Right now, the people of the Driftsnow city only care about the secret of the 9 immortality bells. Who would still remember the story of the Driftsnow master and Immortal Jade? Peiyu forced a smile on her face, but there was a hint of sadness in her smile. This story was something she learned after collecting many ancient records. Hence, she was very fond of the Driftsnow city. She personally came here to take a look at the place where the Driftsnow master and Immortal Jade fell in love, and to see the city that the Driftsnow master used his life to forge. It should be true. Qin Wentian mumbled, sinking into contemplation. He recalled the scene he saw in the 9 immortality bells. In that scene he seemed to have seen someone forging an entire city. He seemed to have seen a lonely gigantic palm stretching out in the air, allowing the snowflakes to land on its palm. If the legend Pei Yu spoke of was true, then that lonely palm should belong to the Driftsnow Master, right? Do you believe it as well? I also believe it to be true. Pei Yu smiled sweetly at Qin Wentian, who was beside her. Time changes, nothing is eternal. Now the 9 immortality bells chimed once more. I wonder if it was because the Driftsnow Master longed for immortal jade. I really hope that there will be someone who can unravel the secret of the Driftsnow city, and let me know if this poignant legend really exists. Even if it does exist, there might be some deviations. Back then, the city created by the Driftsnow Master and immortal jade might not be the Driftsnow city today. Maybe this city is many times larger compared to the one back then. Sharon smiled. Although he was also a weaponsmith and had an intense obsession, he was still filled with admiration for immortal jade. She was actually willing to sacrifice her life for the sake of weaponsmithing. Naturally, he admired the Driftsnow Master even more. The Driftsnow Master wouldn't disregard his life for the sake of weaponsmithing. If he had to sacrifice himself, he would only do so for immortal jade. Maybe. Pei Yu spoke in a low voice. As the few of them conversed, they already arrived at the Driftsnow Inn. After passing through the staircase, there were numerous snowy pavilions and a banquet already prepared. Many people had already arrived. If one stared further into the distance, they would be able to see numerous snowy mountains. These snowy pavilions and palaces could be said to be of uncanny workmanship. It was simply too beautiful. This place is the legendary residence of the Driftsnow Master and immortal jade. It's said that this place has always been like this and has never changed. But now, it has already become the temporary residence of the Driftsnow City Lord. Pei Yu introduced. The location of the banquet hosted by the Jiangling King was naturally the temporary residence of the Driftsnow City Lord. After all, the Driftsnow City Lord was a subordinate of the Jiangling King. When Sharon walked up, the gazes of several people landed on him. After all, among those who came to the Driftsnow City this time around, Sharon's fame was extremely great. He was a heaven chosen from the Wondergate Immortal Manor, and his status was definitely at the highest level. After surveying Sharon, the gazes of the crowd involuntarily turned to the people beside Sharon. Qin Wentian, Pei Yu and Pei Yu's serving girl. When he saw Pei Yu, a warm smile flickered in Pei Tianyuan's eyes. He then spoke, Pei Yu, why did you come here together with Sharon? Coincidentally, we met on the way here and decided to travel together. Pei Yu bowed as she replied. Sharon also smiled, Jiangling King. I'm already friends with Miss Pei Yu. She should be someone from your Jiangling King's manor, right? She's very outstanding. Haha. Many thanks for noble nephew's praise. Quickly take a seat. Since you and Pei Yu are already friends, let Pei Yu sit together with you and chat. Pei Tianyuan straightforwardly spoke. What sort of character was he? Since Sharon and Pei Yu's relationship wasn't bad, he naturally wanted to make good use of it, allowing the two of them to get closer. In that case, he would also be able to make another friend. Although Sharon currently wasn't important enough for him, as a heaven chosen from the Wondergate Immortal Manor, Sharon's future potential was unknown. Maybe he would be mediocre, but there was also a possibility that he would soar to the skies. Chapter 772. Pei Tianyuan pointed to a spot not far away from him, indicating to Sharon and Pei Yu. However, there were only 2 people there. However, Sharon's group had 4 people. Even if Pei Yu's serving girl was removed, Sharon, Pei Yu and Qin Wentian were still 3 people. Sharon glanced at them, then shook his head. Let's find another place to sit. Yes, over there. Pei Yu pointed in a direction. The seat in the middle didn't seem to match Sharon's status. Hence, Pei Tianyuan replied, how can this do? I still wish to have a good chat with noble nephew Sharon. Since there's not enough space, Pei Xiao, please step aside. Pei Xiao was sitting right next to those 2 seats. It seemed like Pei Tianyuan had intentionally chosen those 2 seats for Sharon. With a single glance, he could tell that the reason Sharon wasn't sitting was because there was an extra person, so he had Pei Xiao give up his seat. Pei Xiao's brows twitched as he glanced at Pei Yu and Qin Wentian. A trace of displeasure flashed in the depths of his eyes, but since it was an order from the Jiangling King, how could he disobey? He could only nod his head and stand up, feeling somewhat awkward. At this moment someone called out, Pei Xiao, come sit here. Pei Xiao glanced at the person who spoke as a smile flickered in his eyes. Many thanks for Brother Zhang Yan's kindness. Haha, that's for the best. Dear nephew Sharon, come and have a seat. Pei Tianyuan laughed. Sharon naturally wouldn't reject and hence, the three of them walked over and sat down. Their opponents were none other than Zhang Yan and Pei Xiao, as well as 9 of the 9 sword sect. Other than these people, there were also many geniuses from the major powers, all of them exuding an extraordinary aura. Many of them were disciples from the major powers of the Cloud Prefecture. Let me introduce us old fellows. I'm Pei Tianyuan. I'm sure all of you already know me. The one beside me is Ji Kong, a disciple of the Cloud Tower Sage sect, the Cloud Tower Lord of the Jiangling country. I'm sure all of you have heard of him before. The one on my right is the City Lord of the Driftsnow City, Xikong Yangxue. Pei Tianyuan smiled at the crowd and said, as for the outstanding talents here, I believe you all know each other, so I won't introduce you all. Qin Wentian glanced at Xikong Yangxue, the current City Lord of the Driftsnow City. When compared to the legendary Driftsnow Master, Xikong Yangxue was far inferior. This Driftsnow City is an ancient place. There's also an ancient legend about the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade. It's rumored that back then, the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade fell in love in this place. If one could turn back time and see the scene of the Driftsnow Master playing the zither and Immortal Jade dancing in the snow, that would truly be the most beautiful thing in life. Pei Tianyuan was extremely talkative. As the Jiangling king of the Jiangling country, he had also heard of this legend before. I've also heard of the story of the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade. However, I still doubt the veracity of the story. Where is the city the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade created? In addition, we only pursue the martial path for the sake of transcendence, pursuing the supreme realm. It's the same for weaponsmithing. Living is the foundation of everything. Immortal Jade gave up her life for the sake of weaponsmithing. It's already hard to understand how deep her obsession is. As for the Driftsnow Master, would he really give up his life for the sake of a woman and protect Immortal Jade's withered body? Person spoke. Pei Tianyuan's gaze turned to the person who spoke. This person had a fair and handsome countenance and was dressed casually. His brows were like swords, slanting to the side, and his eyes were filled with wisdom and wisdom. Through his deep gaze one could see many secrets hidden in his mind. This person was none other than a disciple of the Myriad Sage Academy of the Cloud Prefecture, Shu Luyao. The Myriad Sage Academy is as expected of the sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture. There's nothing they don't know about. Right now, the legend of the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade isn't known by many. Even in our Jiangling country, there aren't many who know about it. I only learned about it after reading through many ancient records. To think that virtuous nephew Shu would also know about this story. I'm truly impressed. Pei Tianyuan nodded to Shu Luyao with a smile. He didn't express any opinion on Shu Luyao's words. Knowing the details makes me even more suspicious. Most probably, this rumor is just to deceive those ignorant fools. In this legend, the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade are nothing but fools. Shu Luyao's tone grew sharper. He had no respect for the legend at all. Naturally, the legend was after all something that was too far away. Nobody would say anything because of Shu Luyao's arrogant words. Even Pei Tianyuan only smiled. Only Pei Yu had a frown on her face as she spoke unhappily. The personalities of everyone in the world are all different. You are an emotionless person. How can you say that the sentiments of others are fools? I've always heard that the Myriad Sage Academy is a sacred ground of the Cloud Prefecture, giving birth to many experts whose names shook the entire Cloud Prefecture. I always thought that people from the Myriad Sage Academy would have the breadth of the world in their hearts, able to accept all the rumors in the world. However, you actually said that the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade are fools? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Pei Yu was a sentimental person. She had always believed in the story between the Driftsnow Master and Immortal Jade. If Shu Luyao only had doubts, she wouldn't be angry. But the latter part of Shu Luyao's words was a direct insult to the legend. She couldn't help but feel anger in her heart, hence, her words were extremely sharp. Shu Luyao's sword-like brows twitched when he heard this. His gaze grew even sharper, as though sharp swords were about to shoot out from his eyes. You said that I'm thinking too highly of myself? Shu Luyao's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared at Pei Yu. Could it be that she's wrong? Using your own personality to judge others? Could it be that you think everyone in the world is the same as you? Isn't this thinking too highly of yourself? Upon seeing this scene, Sharon, who was beside Pei Yu, coldly spoke. A moment later, Shu Luyao's gaze turned over, landing on Sharon as he coldly laughed. Seems like your relationship isn't bad. After speaking, he didn't say anything more. However, that mocking gaze of his seemed to contain a different meaning, causing Pei Yu to be even more enraged. However, Sharon calmly replied, "The major powers in the world are all the same. I heard that there are many outstanding characters from the Myriad Sage Academy, but it's hard to say that there wouldn't be scum among them." Sharon, your words are too overboard. Brother Shu has never offended you before, right? Aren't you going too far by humiliating him in public? At this moment, Jiang Yin interjected. Brother Shu is a heaven chosen of the Myriad Sage Academy. The word scum in your mouth is simply too arrogant. As the sound of his voice faded, expressions of interest appeared on the faces of many. Seems like this Jiang Yin didn't want the world to be in chaos and intentionally wanted to intensify the conflict between Sharon and Shu Luyao. I've always admired the Myriad Sage Academy. Sharon, you are truly too much. Nian continued, adding oil to the fire. And as expected, the moment their words rang out, it was impossible for Shu Luyao to ignore it even if he wanted to. At this moment, the gazes of everyone were all on him. Sharon's arrogance isn't just for a moment, right? When the 9 immortality bells were rung, this fellow already lost his composure and started to provoke others everywhere. Ha ha. Another person laughed. This person was also a disciple from a major power, the Battle Heaven's immortal manor of the Cloud Prefecture. The combat prowess of this power was extremely high and their influence could be found all over the Cloud Prefecture. Even in the Zhongling country, they had a subordinate power named the War Immortal Palace. Zurius from the Battle Heaven's immortal manor. Seems like he's also someone who likes to stir up trouble. Everyone silently mused. Zurius didn't have any intentions of intentionally provoking Sharon. He only spoke because he felt that it was interesting. Shu Luyao had a heavy expression on his face. In front of so many people, he truly couldn't maintain his face. Scum? At the very least, I won't play around with women in the Zhongling country. She is someone from the Zhongling King Manor. I will naturally give face to the Zhongling King Manor and not bicker with her. Why are you in such a hurry to speak? What are you trying to say? Shu Luyao coldly laughed. His gaze was fixed on Sharon and Pei Yu as his tone was filled with evilness. Pei Tianyuan quietly watched. Even though Pei Yu was implicated, he didn't even interrupt. Pei Yu's talent in the Zhongling King Manor was ordinary, and her status was ordinary as well. Right now, she became the spark of conflict between two geniuses. Although Shu Luyao's words wrongly accused her, if Sharon couldn't forget about this matter and really got together with Pei Yu, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Calling you scum is already praising you too much. Sharon mocked. Me, Brother Tianwen and Pei Yu have only known each other for a short period of time. Our temperaments are similar and we became good friends. But when it came out of your mouth, the meaning of my words changed completely. How rude of you. The three of you together? What a heavy taste. Nian coldly spoke when she heard that. After that, the gazes of everyone landed on her as faint smiles appeared in their eyes. How interesting. This Nian might seem cold and arrogant, but her words were filled with evil. Naturally, the reason why Nian would be like this was because of Sharon's domineering attitude earlier. Evidently, she hadn't swallowed her anger yet. Pei Yu's body trembled slightly. Her dainty fists were clenched tightly as her countenance turned pale. For a female to be humiliated like this, it was already extremely serious. Especially in such a setting. Nian's words were like sharp arrows, piercing into the hearts of others. Qin Wentian's sharp senses could see the changes in Pei Yu's countenance, as well as the trembling of her body. He also felt some anger in his heart. These people actually dared to humiliate a young lady in the prime of her youth? Inclining his head, his gaze turned to Nian. This cold and arrogant young lady from the Seven Sword sect had expelled him earlier. Evidently, she was a selfish woman who didn't care about others. Someone who can speak such shameless words is actually a female? This is simply unimaginable. Could it be that you have done such a thing before? Fnot, why would you say such words? Qin Wentian stared at Nyan as he emotionlessly spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, Nyan's countenance instantly turned cold. Her sword-like eyes stared in the direction of Qin Wentian as she icily spoke. Impudent, who do you think you are? You even dare to speak in such a manner. Do you believe that I won't kill you right here and now? The gazes of several people landed on Qin Wentian. Zhang Yan also coldly spoke. Who is this fellow? Where did he come from? Do you have the qualifications to speak here? How interesting. Most probably because he is sitting together with Sharon, he doesn't even know who he is. Shu Luyao glanced at the people around him as he asked, do any of you know this person? Everyone shook their heads as mocking gazes appeared on their faces. Sharon had a high status, but this person was different. He actually dared to insult Nyan in such a setting. Those people still had some trepidation when they wanted to make things difficult for Sharon. But now that they caught hold of Qin Wentian, how could they not ruthlessly attack him? Such methods were extremely common. Chapter 773. Sharon referred to him as Tianwen. I've never heard of this name before. I've already seen through his cultivation base. At the third level of celestial phenomenon, not bad. At the very least, he can't be considered the weakest among us. Before this man tried to comprehend the 9 immortality bells, he sat there unmoving and didn't move at all. Yet he chose to sit there and waste time. Even I feel some admiration for him. Haha, even I'm curious now. Sharon, who is your brother Tianwen exactly? Zurius stared at Sharon as he asked. I can understand if you want a woman to sit beside you. But he is a man. If he doesn't have any background, what qualifications does he have to sit there? He even made the Jiangling King order Pei Xiao to step aside. Why must I tell you guys? Sharon's gaze turned cold as he swept his gaze over everyone. A bunch of arrogant fellows. Maybe you guys will have the chance to get to know each other in the future. Who was Qin Wentian? He was filled with anticipation. If Qin Wentian had completely formed a connection with the 9 immortality bells, or if Qin Wentian didn't conceal anything, these people would instantly know who Qin Wentian was. At that time, they wouldn't act like they did now, using Qin Wentian as an excuse to speak rudely. In the future, I don't have much interest. Zurius faintly spoke. Nyan's cold gaze pierced straight at Qin Wentian as she spoke. In the future? She dared to humiliate me? If she doesn't kneel down and apologize today, she most probably wouldn't be able to live to see the future. Pei Yu's countenance changed as she coldly replied. You were the one who insulted us first and that doesn't count? Today is the banquet hosted by the Jiangling King. Aren't your actions a little too unreasonable? Is that so? I can apologize to you if you want, as long as you can defeat me. Nyan coldly laughed. As for today, although the banquet is hosted by the Jiangling King, I, a disciple of the Seven Sword sect, also have no way to endure such humiliation. It's fine if he doesn't kneel down and apologize. I will directly challenge him. I believe the Jiangling King wouldn't interfere, right? Everyone, please calm down. Pei Tunyuan smiled when he saw Nyan looking over. We are all guests from afar. Why is there a need for this? After saying that, he looked at Qin Wentian and said, this young man should also be an elite of some force. Why don't you introduce him to ease the tension? Everyone, please take a step back. My cultivation is not good, so I don't dare to report to my sect. Qin Wentian replied indifferently. Pei Tianyuan's eyes flickered. Then he smiled and said, could it be that you're from a clan? Sorry. Qin Wentian nodded his head to the Jiangling King. He still didn't say anything. Pei Tianyuan didn't continue asking, but Zurius from the Battle Heaven's immortal manor laughed. Is it because your sect is too weak or you don't even have a sect? As a man, why must you hide so much? Wouldn't others look down on you? No comment. Qin Wentian's tone became colder as well. These disciples from the major powers of the Yunzhou were all arrogant and rude. Of course, maybe they were only like this to him, or maybe it was because they thought that their identities were out of the ordinary. Jiangling King, you should have seen it too, right? Nyan spoke again. The Jiangling King Pei Tianyuan laughed. Since little brother is unwilling to resolve this, I believe you should be able to handle it. I won't interfere then. Everyone can settle their grudges among yourselves. I'm afraid I don't have the qualifications to interfere. When Nyan heard this, a cold smile flickered on her face. Her eyes gleamed with sharpness as she lunged towards Qin Wentian. If you beg me, you might have a chance to live. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at Nyan, ignoring her. Sharon coldly laughed. Why didn't you challenge me but chose Brother Tianwen instead? Nyan's cold eyes gleamed with coldness as she stared at Sharon. Another person beside her spoke. Nyan, no matter what, you are someone from the Seven Sword sect and have an extraordinary cultivation base. If you want to challenge me, just look for Sharon. What's the big deal about challenging a third-level ascendant? Don't you feel that you're throwing away the face of the Seven Sword sect? How laughable, she's still so complacent. Sharon also laughed. The lines on his face were filled with mockery. After which, he turned to the person who spoke, to Qin Wentian. Ghost Saber Muyen, my good friend. Muyen, this is Brother Tianwen. Sharon glanced at the person who spoke. Muyen wore a simple white robe and sat in an inconspicuous position. In fact, he didn't seem very eye-catching at all. At first, no one noticed his existence. Clearly, many people didn't know who he was. But as the sound of Sharon's voice faded, several people drew in a deep breath as they stared at the person who spoke. Only to see Ghost Saber Muyen had a frivolous smile on his face, with hints of playfulness in his eyes. His lips curled up in an arc, giving off a sense of frivolity. Ghost Saber Muyen wasn't a disciple from a supreme power of the Cloud Prefecture, but his existence was something that nobody could ignore. Muyen's master was a true grandmaster of the saber, a ghostly genius with terrifying strength. He was a character that even the experts of the Cloud Prefecture revered. His master had a unique characteristic. His saber wouldn't be unsheathed, but once it was unsheathed, blood would definitely be spilled. If it wasn't the blood of others, it would be his own blood. Therefore, Muyen's master was known as the Sabersman of Death. The Sabersman of Death only had one disciple in his life, and that was Ghost Saber Muyen. Muyen had completely inherited his master's characteristics. Either he didn't draw his saber, or if he did, there would be blood. Therefore, in the younger generation, Ghost Saber Muyen was an existence that very few people dared to provoke. Ghost Saber Muyen actually came as well. The eyes of the crowd gleamed with astonishment. This fellow didn't announce his name, and there weren't many people who had seen him before. Hence, nobody in the crowd knew who he was, and had only heard of his reputation. It was said that Ghost Saber Muyen had an extremely good relationship with Sharon. He had requested Sharon to forge several sabers for him, and all of them were kept by him. Muyen and Qin Wentian exchanged glances and smiled, nodding to each other. Ghost Saber Muyen, I've long heard of you. It's rumored that your saber is extremely fast, so fast that when the saber slashed past the neck, the head would be separated from the body, but the person would still be alive. Shu Luyao stared at Ghost Saber, his eyes flickering with coldness. This Ghost Saber Muyen suddenly appeared, mocking Nyan, and had disturbed them. Although Ghost Saber Muyen was extremely famous, he, Shu Luyao, was also a disciple of the Myriad Sage Academy. How could he be weak? Not bad, do you want to take a look? Muyen abruptly inclined his head, glancing at Shu Luyao as a strange smile appeared on his face. This caused Shu Luyao to tighten his grip slightly. This Muyen was clearly provoking him. There will be a chance in the future. However, this matter now has nothing to do with you. Some blind idiots have spoken the wrong words. Let's teach him a lesson first, teaching him how to conduct himself. Shu Luyao still cleverly avoided Muyen's provocation, pointing the spearhead at Qin Wentian. Seems like you are no different from those people from the Seven Sword sect. Throwing the face of the Myriad Sage Academy, Muyen laughed, mocking Shu Luyao again. Some people have spoken the wrong words, they naturally have to be taught a lesson. It's normal for us to have conflicts while chatting, but what qualifications does he have to interrupt? Zhang Yin impolitely pointed his finger at Qin Wentian as he questioned. I agree with this. Indeed, he should be taught a lesson. After that, we can talk about the matters between you all. Zurius from the Battle Heaven's Immortal Manor had a look of someone who was watching a good show. Qin Wentian swept his gaze over everyone. No matter how good his temper was, he couldn't help but feel a fire burning in his heart after being looked down upon by these people. His gaze swept past them as he spoke. Myriad Sage Academy, Seven Sword Sect, Battle Heaven's Immortal Manor, Zhang Clan. Are all of you very strong? As the sound of his voice faded, everyone turned their gazes onto Qin Wentian as mockery flashed in their eyes. These powers were all at the peak of the Cloud Prefecture. They were naturally very strong. Are you talking nonsense? Jiang Yan coldly laughed. Using strength to bully the weak. Sharon and Mu Yan, none of you dared to challenge me to a decisive battle. You guys have truly broadened my horizons. I even heard that some time ago your Jiang clan also did the same thing to bully the weak. In the end, you were smacked in the face by someone who killed a disciple of your Jiang clan, Jiang Quang. Hence, you asked the Cloud Tower to issue an arrest warrant. Could it be that just because your Jiang clan didn't announce this matter, everyone in the Cloud Prefecture knows nothing about it? Don't you know that everyone in the outside world is laughing at your Jiang clan? You guys are still acting like tyrants here. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others? Qin Wentian's words directly pierced the sore spot of the Jiang clan. Jiang Yan's countenance turned ashen, instantly becoming extremely unsightly to behold. Are you courting death? Jiang Yan icily spoke. Angered from embarrassment? Qin Wentian mocked. He pointed to the people in front of him. All of you think you are extraordinary, insulting me with words as though I'm nothing but an ant in front of you. How lofty and lofty are you guys? I don't even have the qualifications to retaliate after being insulted by you. As Qin Wentian spoke, his eyes were like sharp swords as he stared at those who insulted him. You guys aren't wrong. My cultivation base isn't high. I'm only at the 3rd level of celestial phenomenon, unlike you guys who came from the major powers of the Cloud Prefecture. However, are you guys really that strong? There are also many people around you whose cultivation bases are similar to mine. Tell them to step out and fight me. I alone can deal with all of you combined. Do you believe me? Everyone stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. It was fine if this fellow didn't speak, but the moment he did, he caused everyone to be shocked. Expressions of interest could be seen on their faces as they stared at him. Was he crazy? There were so many disciples from the major powers, even if they were at the same cultivation level, how many of them could he deal with alone? He actually dared to speak so rudely? How short-sighted, thinking himself infallible. Jiang Yan's expression turned heavy. This man wants to slap our faces alone. What do you guys think we should do? Nian from the Seven Sword sect coldly spoke. How interesting to be able to hear such a joke at the Jiangling King's banquet. Xu Luyao from the Myriad Sage Academy stared at Qin Wentian as he mocked. Zurius from the Battle Heaven's Immortal Manor had a look of disdain on his face. He glanced at the experts from the War Immortal Palace behind him as he laughed. There shouldn't be any pressure to kill him, right? No problem. Behind him, several people nodded their heads in agreement. After which, Zurius glanced at Pétognon as he laughed. My king, since this man is so confident, why don't we watch a battle during the banquet? We can add some liveliness to the banquet.